Alaikum salam rahmatullah. Just trying to make sure everything's on YouTube. I want to actually be able to look at the chat while I'm here. Okay. Salam, salam, salam. Everybody coming in? Bakery's open. Is the sound okay or is there an echo? I was trying to fix it before I started, but sound okay? Yes, no, maybe so. Good, very good. Alhamdulillah. Okay, good. Okay. How we doing today, y'all? All right. Okay. Do you speak Arabic fluently? Yeah, I do. I speak Egyptian Arabic though. Sound is okay. Alhamdulillah. That's good. Hello, hello. All right, guys, let's get the likes and the shares up, inshallah, so we could get some people in here to ask about Islam. All right, I should be able to keep an eye on YouTube because I have set up somehow. Oh, okay, amazing. Okay, okay, that's good. Okay, because apparently I need some mods on YouTube, so I haven't really been paying attention too much on YouTube, so I've got to start doing that and seeing what's going on. Oh shoot. Can't put that there. Okay. I guess I'll leave it down here. Alright guys. How are we doing? How we doing? Let's get the likes up, the shares up. If you're a non-Muslim, by all means, please request and come and try to give an argument against Islam. That's what we're here for, at least. So, hopefully somebody is going to give us an argument. I know we haven't really been receiving many arguments, just lots of questions, so I'm not responding to questions from the chat. So if you have a question, please request up and prove it, or ask it, or what have you. Sounds good? I sure hope so. I sure hope so. If you're a non-Muslim who wants to challenge a poor Muslim woman and take her out of Islam, this evil religion, as you guys claim, right? This man-centered religion, as they claim, guys. Please request. Nobody's requesting. If you guys have somebody that you know, or you yourself have an argument against Islam, come up and bring it. Otherwise, I expect everybody that's here to be a Muslim. Alright, let's see. First person. Hello? Hello?
Uh,
What's up?
okay, yeah. So, do you want me to go to straight up to the argument, or trying to understand first of all the aspects surrounding it?
Just give me the argument, sir.
The argument, okay. So my argument is that God, okay, so the God, the perfect being, He will not punish someone for being inside of a state of mind that he did not choose to be.
Okay. So what's
Do you
what's the
disagree?
argument? That's a
Huh?
question.
Huh?
That's a question that you just asked. What's the
The
argument?
question?
You said God would not do XYZ. Do you agree?
Yeah, I'm saying yeah.
That's a question. Do you have an argument from
Oh,
Islam, from
yeah.
the
No,
text?
cause I guess it is a question. Yeah, but okay. Wait. So wait. How do you want me to approach this actually?
Just tell me. In chapter 5, verse whatever, Allah says people are not allowed to choose things of their own free will.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Are you a Christian, by the
So,
way?
oh no, I'm not. I'm not. I'm not.
What
I'm
are
just
you?
an unbeliever. Yeah. Well,
Just
so
a.
hear me. Okay. So, Islam teaches that people get to choose their belief, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay. And then I say no.
Okay.
Oh wait. Am I doing this right or not? Because if
I guess. Yeah. I mean, I'm
okay.
just trying to hear what the argument is. Go ahead.
Okay, that means that so okay, so in a lot of religions, right, including Islam, it teaches that people get to choose what they believe in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and me, I say it's way more complex than that.
What's more complex?
That it includes more factors basically. So, for example, right, I'll give you an example, right? Do you think two people, right, two intelligent people, very smart, right, very smart and sincere, do you think they can look at the same evidence, right, and reach different conclusions?
Not really, no.
No. Okay. So you don't agree that whenever scholars of Islam they disagree, do you think that doesn't happen? Does it mean that someone has the right answer or wrong answer?
We're
Whenever
not talking, that's not when we're talking about facts, though. These are opinions. When we're talking about facts, everybody
okay,
comes to the same conclusion about a fact, right?
okay. So okay, good. So are you saying Islam is a fact? So why is nobody coming to the same conclusion?
That's what truth is. Well, people decide that they don't want to follow something for
Ooh,
many
okay, and that's where
reasons.
my
Hold
argument
on,
comes.
stop
Okay,
interrupting, man.
okay,
I
okay,
let you
okay.
speak.
My
So
bad.
what I'm saying is, right, as it pertains to Islam, if somebody is properly presented with the facts and the reasons as to why Islam is true, then
Hmm.
naturally they should accept it. However, some people don't like to accept things because of other reasons, right? Such as their own personal biases, their desires, status, power, wealth, what have you, right? And we see this all the time. People reject the truth simply because it gives them some sort of other worldly benefit, if you want to put it that way.
That is true. Okay, and then my question is that do you think they chose to actually act like that,
Yeah, they
or was it
choose.
because their belief was already reinforced into themselves?
Well, it's more of the fact that they choose to, because somebody could believe something is true and still
Yeah.
reject it, right? Because, of the other
What? You think so?
yes, because of other commitments that they have. For example, we see a lot of these narratives against specific political regimes and stuff where people will side with one side, but deep down they know that the other side is actually who's right. Correct?
Mhm.
Right?
But at that
But
point,
because they're getting money or something from it, they
mhm,
continue siding with the other side.
okay. But at that point, can are we allowed to say it's a belief that they believe in it if they know it's
We would say that they believe in it, but they're a hypocrite, right? And a hypocrite is not somebody who you would say actually believes in the religion, because belief is not going to be just by saying something, it's also through your actions, right? So if
okay?
you in your heart are saying, oh, Islam is true, but outwardly you're like, getting on TV and saying, oh, Islam is false, it's demonic, it's this, it's that, then obviously nobody's going to attest for the idea or the fact that you're a Muslim, right? Moreover, it's
Mhm.
going to be opposing in regards to your actual beliefs, and vice versa. Somebody who's going on TV and saying Islam is true, Islam is this, Islam is that, but deep down they don't actually believe it, right?
Mhm.
They're still in opposition. The whole point is that it's going to essentially be based off of your intention as well as your action. It's not one or the other.
Okay, very good. Okay, I think you explained it very well. So basically, when somebody come on TV, they know deep down that Islam is the truth, but they decide to act uh against what they believe in, right? Is that what you mean, right?
For the most part, not
It's
everyone,
like,
obviously, because not everybody has been presented with the proper evidence, right?
oh, okay. Oh, I feel okay. I like that. So basically, if somebody doesn't actually believe in, see, okay, now you're smart. I like that because most of the time, people actually think that whenever somebody honestly don't believe in something, is because they chose not to believe in it. But you're saying that it depends also on the evidence, right? The evidence and the persuasion, right? Now, my question to you, that person that's lacking evidence, right, persuasion, or didn't get the opportunity, do you think is merciful to put that person into eternal life?
We don't believe that the person is automatically condemned if they don't receive the evidence. So the majority opinion is that that person is going to receive a separate test on the day of judgment to determine whether or not they would have actually, like, for themselves, obviously, not for God, but for God to prove to them whether or not they would have or would have not been a Muslim. So if
Mhm.
they didn't receive the message in this life, they would receive it on the day of judgment, and it would be determined whether or not they would actually accept it. So they would be put under specific circumstances where they would, Allah would show them whether or not they would have actually been believers or not, even if the message reached them.
Very good. Okay, very good. And these opinions, or can we like verify like from
Uh,
the Quran or something like that?
based off of the Quran, based off of the Hadith. So, for example, in the Quran, there's a verse that says, "We do not test a people until we've sent a messenger to them." Right? That's a very clear verse in the Quran, very clear concept in Islam. People aren't
Mhm.
tested on their belief in Islam up until a messenger is sent to them. So, if they don't receive a messenger and they never hear the message, then they can't be tested on it in this particular world, right?
Okay. But honestly, I'm not gonna lie. I think you explained it very well. Because if you didn't agree with me, I would have said, because why is Allah, for example, in the Quran, right? Allah, like he mocks people, right? He said that there's disease in their heart, and then he also put more disease. He know that, but he do you think that's also what do you think about that part?
Yeah, so this is referring to somebody, like you remember the two examples I gave you, somebody who's a hypocrite outwardly and someone who's a hypocrite inwardly, right?
Right.
So there's certain people who are hypocrites
Mhm.
inwardly. They know that something is true, okay,
I know.
but they just completely reject it as being true, right?
Mhm.
And you know, they go out of their way even when evidence is presented to them to reject the
Right.
evidence, right? So this is a
Mhm.
person who is insincere. So Allah is saying that this insincere person who doesn't want the actual truth, he will further make it as if there is no proof to them, simply because
Okay.
they regardless of whether the proof came to them or not, they're simply just going to, they're going to reject it anyway. So that's the reward that that person gets. Whereas the sincere person, the reward that they get is that they will get to see the truth even more clearer. So this is why intention, it matters the most as it pertains to all of these things.
That's very good. And also, do we agree that some people actually take this, like some Muslims, they say they assume other people got the belief, right? And they deny it, and they start mocking those people, exactly, like, because we all agree that the Quran, obviously, if you don't read it out of context, is very I don't want to say misleading to be disrespectful, but it kind of is, right? Because if you listen to read the Quran itself, you can look at it and be like, wait a minute. Allah is mocking these people. He knows that there's a chance they might not believe in it, but why is he directly mocking them? But
Not
then after
really.
that, if you look at the context, then you can understand. But why is that so much complexity? What do you
It's
think?
That's not really complexity. Reading the context is necessary for anything. If I just said he got unalive today with no
Mhm.
context behind it, right? But then I add to you prior to that, right? Let's just say I say that there's been a murder today. Okay. But I didn't tell you anything about this murder. I didn't tell you if it was good or bad. I didn't tell you where it took place. So now if I add context to it, for example, and I say this individual was on death row for unaliving 25 different people, right? And he
Yeah.
got unalived today. That's completely different to me just saying there's been a murder today, right?
Mhm.
Right. So
Yeah.
it's the same thing with the Quran. You don't just read a verse and then say, "Oh, this is completely crazy." Right? You're supposed to read the whole book or at least read the entire chapter or the section of the chapter where it particularly begins, right? Otherwise, nothing would make sense.
That's true. And what about the hadith too? Because the hadiths play a big part into it, right?
Hadith more so gives you, historical context. It could give you more of an in-depth understanding of the verses, but generally
Mhm.
speaking, as it pertains to the clear verses of the Quran and the stories and what have you of the Quran, you would be able to understand what is happening. Hadith will just give us further context. Tafsir gives us further context by putting these hadith together and putting the verses of the Quran together to establish the evidences and criterias for you regarding a particular story, ruling, and what have you, okay?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Okay. I think you explained that very well. Okay, but are we sure that the Quran itself, if you look at it itself, are we? Is it? Can it we safe to say that it has enough context? It's by itself, right? And then once you look at the hadith, there will be deeper context. Do you think?
No, the Quran is not something that stands by itself, and it itself
Okay.
says that, right? In chapter 62, verse 2 of the Quran, it says that the prophet's job is to recite the verses, meaning to give the verses to his people, as well as
Mm-hmm.
teach them the book and the wisdom. So in order for us to learn what the book is, the actual verses, and the wisdom behind it, which is also taught by the prophet, would be what's in the hadith. So both of them go hand in hand. There's no one without the other.
All right. And then what verse is that?
Chapter 62, verse 2.
Okay, two.
62, verse 2.
Verse two. Okay. 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 Yeah, you explained that very well again. Yeah. You. I think. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So.
So
So
why are
is it
you?
safe to say?
Yeah,
Hmm?
go
So
ahead.
is it safe to say that okay, I mean, I mean, the way you explained it, we cannot come to that conclusion that I mean, we can still say that the book is still perfect, right? But what do you think from an outside perspective, though? Do you think like now within the inside of the perspective of like within the Islamic framework of obviously is still perfect, right? The way you explained it. But do you think somebody that might look at it different? Do you think they might see that as perfect easily?
Well, it depends on the person's sincerity, right? If the person's
Mhm.
sincere and they see something where they don't understand it or anything of anything of the sort, naturally the person who's sincere is going to go to somebody who does know about it and go and ask questions. When they ask those questions, they're going to get an answer regarding what this particular thing that they're not understanding means, right? They could go to one person, two people, whatever, to just verify the fact that what the first person said is true. Once they come to the understanding of what it means, then there would be no issue. So I don't think that anybody should just be really taking the Quran for what they think it means, right? Because there is a specific context, there's a specific way it was written, there's a specific background regarding specific verses that were revealed. So it's never the case that somebody could just take it, like, let's just say I'm not going to go to, for example, Nigeria and tell them, "Hey, this is the Quran, read it, you got to believe in it." No. I mean, like, logically speaking, the person's not going to be able to, put two and two together. Some people can, because there is a miraculous nature to the Quran, but others might need, somebody else to guide them, because some people are more inquisitive thinkers than others, right?
Right, right. I think yeah, that's very good. Okay, and another one is that do you think it's possible or impossible that me, for example, if I wanted to have questions about a specific verse, right, and I go somebody that, for example, is Islamic scholar, right, and I go to two people, they both know the hadith, right, they know everything about it, right? Do you think it's safe to say, is it possible, impossible to get different interpretations from these two people?
It depends on what, because if it's regarding a ruling, then yeah, there is a possibility where they could give you two different interpretations, because the rulings themselves is something which God has left leniency for, right? For some
Right.
of the rulings. So, for example, trying to think, uh, um, there's a verse in the Quran that talks about what is halal or haram for you to ingest, right? Now, it
Mhm.
specifies certain things, but it doesn't specify every single thing which exists, right? As to what is allowed to eat and what isn't allowed to eat, right? So
Mhm.
some of the scholars have opinions regarding specific things on what you can or can't eat, and they bring their evidences for it, right? Some of the scholars say you can't eat venomous animals. Some of them, I believe, say otherwise, right? And so on and so forth. Some of them say you can't eat like shrimp and these bottom dwelling seafood critters and all these things because they're like bacteria and bacteria is bad for you and what have you, right? And other
Yeah,
ones
yeah,
disagree with that. But this is because they're not specified. But things which are specified, like for example, you have to pray 5 times a day. All of them would agree on that, right? This is
mhm,
this is a basic ruling. It's a basic obligation that is very clearly outlined in the religion.
mhm. Okay, now coming back to the thing that Aaron specified, at that point where you have two different interpretations, what do you do? How
The
do you
both
act upon
both of the interpretations are not wrong, right? It's just it depends on which one you would agree with more, which one you see that there is more evidence for. So both of them will have their evidences for it, and you could go with the one that has more evidence as it pertains to the Quran and to the Hadith, right? And to
it?
the
Mhm,
way
yeah.
of life of the Prophet, peace be upon him. This is naturally the way that most Muslims live their life anyway. The thing that has the more evidence for it is the thing that we would, you know, hold to as something which would be of a stronger claim, right?
Right. Honestly, I don't have any more questions. I think you
So
explained that very
let me
well.
let me ask you a question now. Why are you not a
Yeah,
Muslim?
no, I'm not.
I said, why are you not?
Well, I'm not.
I
Uh,
answered all your questions, right?
yeah, you did. I'm not gonna lie, but it doesn't mean I won't come back with more questions.
So why are you not a Muslim?
uh, I'm gonna be sincere. Don't assume I'm not, because a lot of people saying that.
Go
I'm
ahead.
just not convinced.
Okay.
It's still not enough for me.
What would
But
convince
again,
you?
yeah, huh?
What would convince you?
Who convinced me? That's a good question.
Where are you from?
I'm from Guinea, West
Guinea,
Africa,
okay.
but I live in the US.
That's cool. Okay. All right, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. What would convince you?
Who convinced me? Wait, do I even know what will convince me?
Do
Uh,
you let's start with this. Do you believe in God, or do you believe that there's a possibility that God exists?
uh, I, I basically don't believe in the gods that religion the way they describe him.
That's fine, but
I
you
don't believe.
believe, do
Yeah,
you believe in a higher power?
I want to believe in.
Irrespective of religion, do you believe that there's a necessary being?
I want to, but it's hard,
Okay.
really.
All right,
Hard.
so let's talk about
Um,
that then, okay? Let's talk about that
okay.
first. You have time?
I would say so, yeah. Unless you don't mind. I mean, if you
No,
don't
I don't
mind,
mind. I don't mind. So you're being very respectful, so I don't mind. So let's start with it that way then. Okay.
Mhm.
So do you know what something that is contingent is?
Contingent now.
Okay. So contingent just simply means that this thing requires something external to it to exist. So for example, you are a contingent existence, right? You, in
Mm,
order for you to exist, your parents had to come before you and procreate in order for you to be here, right?
that's right.
And their parents and so on and so forth, right?
Mm,
Okay. Now the universe is full of all of these contingent things, right? These things that depend on other things in order for them to exist, right?
right.
Right. So naturally, there has to be something outside the universe to explain the existence of all of these things that require an external explanation to them, right?
Right.
Right. So if we put everything that exists, right, that is contingent in one box, then there has to be something outside of this box that is not contingent to explain this box. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So now we have you at least as something which is necessary. Okay? It doesn't change, it doesn't do this, because if it does, then it goes back into this box. Okay?
Right.
Okay, so there's something that's necessary. All right, beautiful. So now I'm going to show you why this thing that's necessary also has a mind. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. So you know 2 plus 2, yes?
Yeah.
Okay, this is math, right? Math isn't something that exists as like a physical thing. Like I can't give you or hand you 2 plus 2, right?
That's right.
Right. So it's something that exists, but it exists in your mind, right?
Yeah.
Right. Now, here's the question. Is 2 plus 2 always true as being 4? So is it true that 2 plus 2 is always 4?
I would say so, but yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Right.
I think if you
Okay.
leave it like that, yeah, huh?
Okay. So if 2
Mm-hmm.
plus 2 is always 4, and this is something that exists in minds, okay? Concepts, they all exist in the mind, right? Concepts
Mm-hmm.
that are always true, they depend on a mind, right?
All right.
Right. So if they
Okay. I see what it. Okay. Go.
you
Yeah.
get the
Keep going.
argument,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
if they always depend on a mind to exist, then naturally, since all humans are dependent, there must be some sort of other independent mind that exists, right? In order for these statements to always be true.
I'm not gonna lie. That's tough. Okay. Okay. I'm not. I didn't think about that before. I did
Okay.
not think about that
So
before.
you agree
Okay.
though, right?
I would say I agree, but for now, I would say yeah. But I will, of course, I'm not gonna take your word for it, right? Of course not.
No, I
Or
mean,
do you want me to?
if you follow the logic, then there's nothing really
Yeah.
that you would disagree with, right?
Okay. Okay. Yeah. You're right. You're right. Yeah. Yeah.
If you
Of
think
course.
I said something wrong, then you challenge me on it, right?
Yeah. Because okay. So let's say. So you're saying that is. Oh. Okay. So if 2 plus 2 require my brain to automatically think of context, right? Right. Basically, like there's something that has to be behind it. I mean, okay. If we say it's So if let's say there's no God, does that mean my brain is also my brain thinking of context? Oh, wait a minute. Okay, wait, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Okay, so let's say okay. Your answer is basically saying that context is coming from who? Like the brain giving context. That brain is coming
It's more so
from
more of that is along the lines of what I'm saying, right? But it's
yeah.
more so just to say that all of the concepts that we know are always true regardless, right?
Okay.
These concepts, we know they're also mind dependent. They don't just exist by themselves, right?
Yeah.
They have to be mind dependent. They're grounded by a mind. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So if they're always true and it's true forever, then there must be an eternal mind that also grounds them, right?
Okay.
So that
But
thing, yeah, go ahead. What's your question?
but do you agree though that for example when I say 2 plus 2 equal 4, that context is coming from my experiences, right? Like the knowledge that I already have and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then but what he's saying though is
But
that
that's
the
also
mind that's
something.
controlling that
That's also
is
something
coming from
it's also something that's taught to you though. So there was a mind that preceded you that taught you that,
yeah.
right?
That's true.
Right. So if we go back in the timeline of minds, naturally we also have to come to the conclusion that there is this mind that it originated with, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. So you believe in a necessary thing which has a mind now. Congratulations. You're almost there.
Almost there. Okay.
Yeah, I mean it's really not that much left now. Okay. So now we have this necessary thing which has a mind. And we want to know basically what is more probable, that this necessary thing with a mind, did it create, because now we also know that it has, it's the reason as to why all these other things exist, right? So naturally it's the thing which caused these things to exist, right? Remember the box that we were talking about, correct?
That's right.
Right. So now we need to know, is there a reason why it created these things? Okay. That's the question that we want to answer. And would it tell us, right, would this necessary thing that we know tell us would it tell us why it created these things? What would be more probable, that it would tell us or that it wouldn't?
That it wouldn't, of course.
That it wouldn't tell us?
Yes.
Okay, so there's
the mind itself, right?
Well, it's a thing, right? There's a thing that we're talking about. It's not a mind itself, right? Because naturally, if it has a mind, then it also has other things as well, because it was also able to create, right? Minds don't create physical things, right? It has to have some sort of specific power that is able to create things as well.
Yeah.
Right. So again, this thing, if it has a mind, we know it has some sort of, intellect. It is able to communicate all of the things that we would, understand typically of a mind, correct? Right. So naturally, since it has the ability to do these things, then it would also follow that it would be able to utilize these things, right? These attributes, correct? So one of these attributes would be the intellect. And how do we know about its intellect? By it communicating, yes? Right. So if it communicates with the individuals that it created and all these things, then we also know whether or not the things that it says are actually coming from that source or coming from something else, right? How would we do that? If it's the source of all intellect, then naturally it is also going to be the all-knowing, right? Right. So if it's all-knowing, that means it can't make any mistakes, correct?
Right.
Okay. So if it can't make mistakes, then we know that anybody who's claiming to hear from this all-knowing thing, and they have a mistake in what they say, then it can't be true, right?
Right.
Right. So that's we now have a criteria in a way. Okay.
Okay.
So now we have all of these religions around the world. Okay.
Yeah.
We have Islam, you have Christianity, Judaism, Hinduism, all of these religions. Okay. And they're all claiming that they're the true religion. Yes.
That's right. Yes, of course.
And they all also have a specific message, a book, and what have you, correct?
That's right.
Okay. So naturally, this message is not only going to be limited to a specific group of people, right? It's a message that's available to everyone. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. So we can eliminate religions that are based on a specific group of people, right?
Right.
Such as Judaism. Judaism is specific to the Jews, right? The children of
Right.
Israel and such, right? So off the table. Okay. Um, Hinduism goes against what we came to the conclusion of in terms of there being one mind as opposed to multiple minds, right?
Right.
Right. So Hinduism's off the table, polytheism is off the table. We're only left with the monotheistic beliefs. Yes.
That's right.
Okay. So we have two that claim to be monotheistic. Okay, we have Christianity, we have Islam, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, I'm not even going to go into the Trinity. Okay, forget the Trinity. That's all confusion for no reason to begin with. I'm going to go simply based off the book. Okay. If the book has a problem in it, if it has an error or a mistake in it, then we know it's not the message of God, right?
Right.
Right, because God is all knowing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
But
go
wait.
ahead. Go ahead.
Let me say something. Okay.
Go ahead.
So is it safe to say that people might think that this is an error, right? It's a mistake, and God made a mistake. But but basically in the human perspective, it really isn't. Is it safe to that? That's possible. That's a possibility, right?
Okay, so I'm not talking about like an opinion of a mistake, right? Like I'm not talking about morality, for example. Okay. I'm
Okay.
saying like let's say the book says 2 plus 2 is 5. Okay. That's clearly a
Mm-hmm.
mistake, right?
All right.
Right. Or if the book has a contradiction, if it says that there was 70,000 people there, but in another page it says there was 700,000 people there, right?
Okay.
That's going to clearly be opposites of each other. A contradiction can't be true, right? And God doesn't make contradictions, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the Bible, okay, there are mistakes in it. There are mistakes both historically, textually, even the preservation of the book itself is questioned. Okay, not by Muslims
Mm-hmm.
specifically, but even atheist scholars question the authenticity of it. Correct.
All right.
Right. But when it comes to the Quran gives you the challenge. It tells you if you are able to produce a contradiction from the book. Okay? It literally gives you that challenge. It tells you, you know, if you really think that this is not from God, show me a mistake that's in the book, right? Show me a false
Mm-hmm.
prophecy, for example. Show me a contradiction. Show me an error. Show me anything, right? To prove that it's
Okay.
not from God. Okay? So now
Okay.
the job would be on the person who is a disbeliever, right? Coming to the Muslim
Right.
and asking, hey, I saw XYZ in the Quran, or your prophet said XYZ. This is wrong. Here's the facts. Okay?
Right.
Right. So that's why I'm here now. Okay? That's what I'm trying to tell people to do. I'm telling them, come, bring your arguments. If your argument doesn't work, there's no reason for you to not be a Muslim. Right?
Okay. Very good. Okay.
Okay. So now,
Yeah, honestly, I mean, hey, I'm not gonna lie. You smart. You the way you explain this is very nice. Yeah. So it seemed like my only thing left to do is go straight up, forward. I mean, straight up to inside of the Quran
well,
and learning. Is that
so I mean that could be a good start, but I think for
okay?
you, I mean, we already got you to the conclusion that there is a God that exists. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The question would just simply be, which God is that God, right? And
Mm-hmm.
obviously we've eliminated the majority of the religions around the world. The only one that would really stand, if you were even to apply this test, would be Islam. Okay.
Okay.
So Islam, now do you know anything about the basics or the fundamentals of Islam?
Yeah, I would say so a little bit. Yeah,
Okay, what do you know? Let me know. Tell me what you know.
like pray one God, right?
Mm-hmm.
Believe in all the multiple prophets, right? But Muhammad was the last one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What else?
I'll tell you. I'll tell you.
Pray. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, okay, go ahead. Praying what?
Pray 5 times a day, right?
Right. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So now, some of those things that you've said are things that we just spoke about, right? Believing in one God, believing in the message that God sent, right? The messengers. Because naturally, if he is God, he's going to send people to us to deliver his message, right?
Yeah.
So this is what Islam is, right? We believe in all of the messengers that came before Muhammad, peace be upon him, and that he is the last one. right?
Mm-hmm.
We believe in Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moses, all of these individuals, Jesus, peace be upon all of them, right? All the way
All right.
back to Adam, peace be upon him. So if Muhammad, peace be upon him, is coming and he's saying, I'm telling you to worship the same God that sent these messages before, and these people believed in these messages before, and his message is the same as that message from before, then there's no reason to reject him, right? Unless he lies or unless he has a mistake in his message, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're not going to be able to find one, my brother.
Okay. Is that like a challenge?
It's a
I mean, it
challenge,
depends.
but if you let me put it for you this way. I
Okay.
sit here, okay? I've been doing this for what, like 5 years now. Okay, going
Damn.
into
Okay.
6 years. I sit here every single day and I wait for people
Every
to
day.
bring pretty much every day, man. Yeah.
Okay.
I sit here every day and I wait for people to come and bring me a proper argument against Islam. Okay?
All right.
Most people come up here and they just start asking me 50 questions like it's a first date. Okay. No actual arguments but to bring. They think that they could go around in circles with me and they play these games and stuff, but no actual arguments to come. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But however, right, that's not to say that I know everything about Islam, right? I don't know everything about Islam. Islam has a lot of things that somebody, even in your entire lifetime, you wouldn't be able to know about all of it. Okay. But that doesn't mean that because I don't know everything about it, that automatically means that I can't believe in it, right? I
Of
can
course. Yeah.
I can have limited knowledge about something, but if I believe in the basic stuff about the religion, then I should be part of that religion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's just a matter of learning and taking a step every single day, right?
That's right.
Okay. Let me ask you some questions and then
Yeah.
we'll see if you should be a Muslim. How about that? Because I think I answered all your questions
Wait,
that you came with.
shouldn't everybody?
What was that?
I say, shouldn't everybody? You say if I should be,
Shouldn't
isn't
everybody
it?
what?
Yeah, be Muslim.
Yeah,
I
I
thought that
think
was the idea.
everybody should be a Muslim, but I'm saying you
Yeah.
specifically right now because of all of
Okay.
the questions that we went through right now and the argument that we went through. Yeah.
Okay.
So, okay. So, do you believe in one God?
I would. I wouldn't say that.
You wouldn't say that after we just went through the argument?
I know. I know. Yeah. I know you. Yeah. It made sense. It made sense and all. I mean, if I were to believe it, so you used to explain me very good. I'm not gonna admit. I'm not gonna say anything else,
Okay.
right, and all that. But it's still not enough to the point it will make me believe.
Okay,
Or do you
why?
think, or do you just expect people to talk when you tell people stuff like that, and you're not expecting them to go also think about it, do their research, sit down?
I mean, you could think
Uh,
about it. You could certainly
yeah.
think about it. But
So right now, if I
when
say
you're
I believe in God
Go
because you
ahead.
told me to, so I will be lying to myself.
No, no,
Yeah.
I'm not telling you that you have to believe in it, right? But I'm
Okay.
saying, okay,
Or based
when
on like.
somebody, yes, based off of the explanation, right? When somebody explains something to you and you
Uh-huh.
say, I understand it now, okay,
Yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
then naturally you have no reason to reject it unless you have a contention to it, right?
Okay.
Right. So if you understood the stuff I said and it made sense to you and the logic
Hmm.
flows from A to Z, then you have no reason to reject it, right? Even if you don't accept Islam as a totality, because that was only the first question. The basic conclusion you should be at now is that there is one God based off of that argument.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, but I know you're trying, but I don't think like right now you explained everything made sense. Basically, you persuaded me,
Okay.
right? I will at some point, right?
Okay.
But me, I don't take that persuasion as enough for me to
Okay.
believe in it.
Okay. So then I go back to my first question again. Now,
Okay.
what is stopping you from being
Oh, okay, that
believing?
was good. Yeah, nah, he's smart. He's smart. He's smart.
It
Okay,
always goes
okay. Let's
back
say
to that. What would stop
he's
you?
smart. Okay, now I think. Okay. Now I think what's lacking, I would say, is the lack of knowledge, more knowledge about it.
Okay. So how do
How
you
about
gain
that?
that knowledge? That's also why I said the other thing to you, right?
Yeah,
Having a
yeah.
lack of knowledge doesn't mean that you shouldn't take that step because you have a basic understanding, right? Having a
Okay.
basic understanding, having a good foundation, a hard, rock solid foundation, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
unbreakable. You build off of that foundation and that foundation won't break. But if you have a flimsy foundation like this, right? Anything
Mm-hmm.
you put on it is going to fall, right?
Okay.
So
That's good.
now you have that foundation a little, okay, from that argument, and you start to add on top of what you learned. You understand?
Okay.
It's the same
That's
with
true.
me. It's the same with me. I have that foundation, okay, and I build
Mhm.
off of that foundation until I understand more and more and more. And the foundation itself never breaks, okay?
Right.
So having a lot of knowledge, because let me put it for you this way. Let me ask you this.
Yeah,
At
yeah, yeah.
what point would you think I have enough knowledge now, I'll be a Muslim, or I'll be this, or I'll be that? At what point? What is the limit?
Very good. I would say I don't know. Why I say that is because okay, no, why I say that because don't you think that having say okay, this is enough knowledge for me to be doing something? Don't you think it's about perspective? Think about it for a minute.
Well, again, but that
Because for
so
example,
okay.
let's say
I
okay,
get
no,
what you mean.
yeah, you get okay, yeah, okay,
Some people they require more. Some people they like
exactly.
what I told you
Depend,
before.
yeah,
Some people
exactly.
require more of an explanation, some people require less. But the difference
But okay,
is the person who requires less understands that the foundation of the two of them is exactly the same. Okay? The amount of knowledge,
wait a minute, what do you mean? What do you mean?
I'll tell
I'm
you.
sorry.
So
Wait,
two people who are inquiring about Islam. Let's say me and you. Okay.
Mhm.
Right now you're not a Muslim and I am a Muslim, but we both have a certain same understanding of a foundation in terms of a belief in God now based off that argument. Okay?
Yeah,
Both
you
of
said
us
an argument, yeah.
both of us are like this at the bottom. Okay?
Right.
But in terms of Islam, okay, maybe you could say that my bottom part has a lot more on top of it. Whereas yours, maybe right now it's like right here. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. But both of us are the same at the start. Yes? So the foundation is the same. Yes?
Oh, I think I'm having a hard time understanding that.
Okay. So right here, this is the starting point, our starting point. This is your starting point. This is my starting point. Yes?
Okay.
What's the difference?
No, no difference. No, I would say
Nothing. Right? The only thing that can be different is what comes later on. You understand?
I feel like that might be debatable. Okay, maybe I'm being a little bit, but I feel like saying we all both have same standing or foundation. I think that's also debatable. It's
What would be
not. Is it
debatable
true?
about it? If the religion itself, right, only
Yeah.
has one message, okay, or
Yeah.
or a statement itself, right? Even if this was just 2 plus 2 and both of us understand that 2 plus 2 is 4, okay? If we both understand that, then that means we both have the same understanding. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I think
But
what I know. I know what I missed. Okay.
but, right? Maybe you know more about let's say geometry, and I know more about calculus, and you more
Uh-huh.
about statistics. But at the end of the day, both of us still come to the conclusion that the foundation is 2 plus 2 is 4. Yes?
Okay.
Okay. So
Okay.
same thing now. Both of us can come to the conclusion that there's a necessary being that exists, right?
Okay.
Okay. But you still don't know in terms of, things that you want to gain more about the religion in terms of knowledge and stuff. More stuff that you want to add up to here. Yes.
Right.
But it doesn't change the truth about this. Yes.
Right. That's right. Okay.
And the truth about this only matches with one thing based off of what we said. Right.
Okay.
Or at the very
Oh,
least from what we know right now. Yes.
yes. Okay.
Right. It doesn't match with Christianity, doesn't match with Judaism, doesn't match with Hinduism, doesn't match with anything else except for possibly Islam, according to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Right.
Right. And if you have no issue with Islam based on the questions that you asked me and such, right? And
Mm-hmm.
you're just going and looking to learn and all of these things, right? Then naturally speaking, this would be enough for you. But your brain makes it seem like you need to be up here in order for this to be enough for you. But at the end of the day, this is what gets you to be up here to begin with,
Mm-hmm.
right? Without this,
Oh,
you wouldn't even have any of this. Yes?
yes.
There you go, ma'am.
Yeah, you're right. I think you're right.
Of-
At least for now. But you're right. But let's just say my brain is still playing with me. How about that?
Okay.
Because you said it, right? My
I
brain
know.
make it seem like
You think that you're the only person whose brain came up here and was playing with them? I've
Of
had
course
multiple people come up here
not.
and they understand and they
Yeah.
agree and they even come to the point of believing it and they still don't want to become a Muslim. Okay? But
Okay.
why? Remember what I told you when you first asked me in the beginning?
When I first asked you.
You asked me about people and why they don't accept things, right? Why they don't accept
Oh
the
yeah, yeah,
truth,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
why
yeah.
they don't accept the truth even when it's in
Uh-huh.
front of them, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So you have, right, the truth in front of you, but you're not rejecting it arrogantly, right? You're not an arrogant
Mm-hmm.
person. You're somebody who's sincere and you're answering and you're agreeing with these things, right?
Okay.
But there's something about you or something about your desire that's preventing you from doing it.
That's
Maybe
very
you're
true.
exactly. There's something
You're
maybe
smart.
that's
You're
stopping
very
you from
smart.
doing it.
Okay.
I appreciate it,
Okay.
man.
But I really wish though that more Muslim people will understand this because what are they commenting? He said they can't handle the truth. Please disconnect him.
No,
Please
no,
take
don't
example
don't don't worry
from
about.
Is your name Itachi? What's your name?
Yeah, yeah, Itachi. It's okay. Don't worry.
Please
Some
take
comments are
example
good.
from her.
Some
Okay.
comments are bad. It's all good.
Yeah.
Some people are also Christians, by the way. They're not all
Okay.
Muslims in my chat. A lot of them may be trying to make it seem like the Muslims are speaking that way because they don't want you to actually be a Muslim. See, these are people that would incite your desires towards rejecting what you already know, right?
Mm-hmm.
But once you know something and you become held accountable for it, there's not a lot more that you could do, and nobody else is going to be able to help you with that afterwards, right? At the end
That's
of the
right.
day, it's just going to be between you and God. None of these people in the comments would help you. None of these people in the comments would help me, right? Not my parents, not my friends, not my family, nobody. And same thing
That's
with
right.
you, same thing with everybody else in this chat. So even if the person is Muslim in the chat saying that, they're going to be held accountable for that. You could get a good deed based off of that. If you become a Muslim now, they are going to bite their themselves in the butt for saying something like that,
That's right.
right?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, they should, right? They
They
should
should.
definitely.
They
Right.
should. So
Very
let's
true.
let's go through those questions again then. Okay. If I ask you, do you believe in God? What's your answer?
Like sincerely,
Yeah. Obviously, I don't
I
want you
would
to
say no.
lie. Okay.
And I would say no.
Okay. So why?
I would say it's kind of obvious, right? It's just not convincing enough at this
Okay.
point,
So
at
then we
this
go
level.
back
Yeah.
to the other question again. What would
Okay.
convince you?
Again, I would say that it's the lack of knowledge, and all that. And you would say your brain is sticky. You and I'm actually about that. I said
Okay.
that. Yep, I understand. My brain is playing with me, and I'm admit it. You're right. That's how the brain works.
So
It's very
then
complex.
so then it's going to become a problem of discipline then. So then let's do this. Why don't you go and read the Quran? Okay.
Okay.
Why don't you could just read one chapter from the Quran. You don't even have to read the whole chapter. Start in chapter 5, verse 83, okay?
Mhm.
Or even just start from the beginning. Okay? Read the Quran from the beginning and stop whenever you feel like stopping. Okay?
Okay.
And then come back tomorrow, ask questions, and see if there's anything that you want to see. Okay? Go look up, if you want to look up videos of Islam, go look up videos of Islam on YouTube. If you're more of a listening person and you don't like to actually like read from the book or anything, you could listen to the Quran in English online or whatever native language you like. Okay?
Mhm.
You could
Yeah.
go and do those things. Like I said to you before, I go live every day. If you want to come back again and, join the conversation, join the panel, and ask any questions while you're reading, or maybe even become a Muslim, by all means, I'm here, okay?
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, ma'am.
But yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
No problem. Anything
Yeah.
else you have today?
Nah, nah, nah. But I would just say though, hey guys, take example from her. Okay, that's all I gotta say.
Appreciate it. All right,
I
ma'am.
see. Okay.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
night.
Appreciate it.
Okay. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide him, man. May Allah guide him. May Allah guide him. All right, let's bring the next person. I don't know if they loaded in or not. I guess not. Okay. Hello?
Hello.
How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty fine myself. How can I help you?
Okay, so I could disprove Islam in one way.
Okay, what's the argument?
The argument is there's no evidence that Abraham built the Kaaba with his son Ishmael.
Okay, what's the contradiction?
Well, I mean the contradiction is that you guys say that he did build it, and you
So,
guys have to
you
do a
understand.
pilgrimage. So if that's not true, then Islam isn't true.
Okay, so you understand that a lack of evidence does not mean that the thing itself is not true, right?
How so? I don't understand.
So, for example, are you a Christian?
No,
You're not a Christian?
no, I'm not.
Oh, okay. Give me a second. Guys, can somebody go check his page for me, please? Make sure that he's not lying. He hesitated a little bit on that answer, I can't lie. You know what? I'll just go
Wait,
check.
why would it matter though?
Why would it matter? Oh, now it's why would it matter? Are you lying or are you not lying?
No, I'm not lying.
Okay. I'll just verify. Oh, it's private. Okay. All right. Let's just say, let's just say, let's just say you are not a Christian, okay? So, as it pertains to, for example, the Big Bang and the beginning of creation and all of these things, or even just the beginning of the universe, okay? Do we have
Hmm.
evidence? Do we have actual evidence to tell us what actually occurred at the singularity?
At the singularity, yeah, we do have evidence. The microwave
Yeah, but
radiation background.
scientists don't know where the singularity actually comes from. There's literally agreement on that. They call it quantum fluctuation, and then they just stop. They don't say anything else after that.
Okay, what's your point? I don't
So
understand.
my point is that a lack of evidence for something does not mean that we now can't believe in that particular thing, right? Moreover, the Quran is not making, this claim and saying, "Oh, you can go and find the evidence of it in, you know, in history and all these things." There's certain statements or certain things that we even know in terms of history that are long lost, yet we know of some way, shape, or form that they did exist based off of some sort of record of them, right? Even
Hmm.
as it pertains to Mecca, or as it pertains to the Kaaba specifically, um, we
But
believe.
Abraham couldn't have been in Mecca. Like he couldn't have been in that region. It's impossible.
Why not?
I could pull up an article, but
What's
I've
the
read it
no?
before
I don't care about what the article says. Just tell me what the proof is, right? What would be the impossibility?
because he didn't reside in that location at all, and it would it would have taken him, like a crazy amount of time basically to just move there.
That makes no sense. You know that his son moved there, right?
His son Ishmael?
Ishmael and Hagar moved there according to the biblical narrative. Yes. Not only the Islamic narrative, but also the biblical narrative. There's nothing impossible about it, by the way. These people used to go on these journeys anyway. They would
Oh,
have
wait,
had
where's the evidence for that? Can you pull up like
what
some
that
proof for that?
people used to go off of trade routes and go and trade in other countries
No,
and
no, that
such.
Ishmael specifically moved
Yeah,
to Mecca.
no problem. I didn't say Mecca, by the way. I said the region. Hold on. I'll show you. Okay. So, this is from the Bible. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see it.
Is it cut off at all? Let me just make sure.
I mean, I see like I guess like half of verse 17 and then 18.
One sec. Okay. Basically, 17, right here.
Hmm.
Hold on. One second. One second. Oh, okay. I could size it up a little. Okay, that's better?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay.
Yep.
So, verse 17, it says, God heard the boy crying, and the angel of God called to Hagar from heaven and said to her, What is the matter, Hagar? Do not be afraid. God has heard the boy crying as he lies there. Lift the boy up and take him by the hand, for I will make him into a great nation. Then God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water, so she went and filled the skin with water and gave the boy a drink. God was with the boy as he grew up. He lived in the desert and became an archer. While he was living in the desert of Paran, his mother got a wife for him from Egypt. So naturally, we
Mhm.
know that the story of Abraham, it starts off in, like, Babylon, modern day of Iraq, and all of these things, right?
Okay, wait. So this source is the Bible,
This is the Bible, yes. So it's not only the Quran that says this.
and you believe that the Bible is corrupted, right?
Not necessarily in terms of the Old Testament, not the entirety of the Old Testament. No, I only believe
How
that
do you know which parts of the Old Testament are
so.
corrupted?
Like I said, I don't believe that the Old Test. I was saying, I mean, the Old Testament, I don't believe in terms of complete textual corruption. I believe that it's more of a meaning corruption. Moreover, um, that's not really going to be substantive to the argument itself. We would know what is corrupted or isn't based off of the comparison of manuscripts anyway. So we could corroborate the understandings or the evidences based off of other manuscripts and corroborating it with what the Quran says as well. So you could corroborate it based off of historical evidence, the other manuscripts, and what have you, right? So,
Wait, so are there any manuscripts that say that Abraham um, sacrificed Ishmael, or you know,
so why are you
was
switching the
going to?
topic like every 5 seconds, bro?
I'm not No, I'm not switching the topic. I think this
Okay,
is like a
so
logical progression
so we haven't
of the
even
argument
finished.
here.
We haven't even finished the first thing. So I was showing you that the story itself says that he lived in this area, and this is something which is known historically anyway, based off of like the narrative of people who claim to believe in an Abrahamic faith, right?
Hmm.
Okay, so here, the Jews and the Christians and Muslims understand that the desert of Paran is in the area of Arabia, an area near to Sinai. Okay, now if you know, Sinai is connected to both modern day Palestine as well as, if I'm not mistaken, also connected to what would be modern day Saudi Arabia, if I'm not mistaken. And moreover, it says that his mother got him a wife from Egypt. We know that Hagar was an Egyptian. So, regardless, we know that these people were traveling around. Like, there was trade routes, they had animals, they weren't immobile, right? They were able to go to these neighboring lands. There was nothing wrong with that. So, the fact that Ishmael was there, we could come to a natural conclusion that his father would have visited him in the land that he was living in. There's no issue with that. It's not too far away in terms of, riding by an animal or anything of the sort. It could be like a few days, maybe a week.
Okay, I mean, okay, like
Because
I guess your argument kind of makes sense, but there still isn't any archaeological proof that Abraham and Ishmael built the Kaaba.
okay. Do you know that the Bible itself also mentions the Becca?
What is that?
Becca. So you know what Mecca is, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know what Baka is
Okay.
or Bek.
So
I don't
the
know how.
Quran, I'll show you. The Quran also mentions Becca. So you have, okay, let me just get the chapter. Sec. Okay, just the heck, hold on. Oh, 396, my bad. Okay. So here, this is in the Quran, chapter 3. And if we go down to verse 96, it mentions an area called Becca. Surely the first house of worship established for humanity is the one at Becca, a blessed sanctuary and a guide for all people. And this In it are clear signs, and the standing place of Abraham. So this is referring to Mecca. Okay, Becca is Mecca. So far, so good?
Mhm.
Okay, give me 1 second. Let me just get you this. Okay, so we have also in the Old Testament where it talks about Becca right here. And we'll go through the context. 84 verse 6, where is it? In the valley of Becca, and make it a place of springs and so on, okay? But the actual entirety of this describes the area of Becca itself, or Mecca. So it says, how lovely is your dwelling place, Lord Almighty. If you notice here, it also talks about how this is a blessed sanctuary and a guide for all people. In it are clear signs. Whoever enters it should be safe. Pilgrimage to this house is an obligation by Allah upon whoever is able among the people, and whoever disbelieves in Allah surely is not in need of any of his creation. So we know in other verses of the Quran that it talks about the Kaaba being the quote unquote house of Allah, right? It's called the house of Allah in the Quran. So it talks about how lovely is your dwelling place, Lord Almighty. My soul yearns, even faints, for the courts of the Lord. My heart and my flesh cry out for the living God. Even the sparrow has found a home, and the swallow a nest for herself, where she may have her young. This is what I would believe is going to be a reference to Hagar and the story of Ishmael. It starts there. A place near your altar, so the altar of God would be the Kaaba. Lord Almighty, my King and my God, blessed are those who dwell in your house, right? Remember I told you?
I think you're reaching a bit, but okay.
So it
Yeah,
talks about
keep
it
going.
being God's house and his. That's literally what it's called in the Quran as well. And they are ever praising you, which is what people do when they go to the Kaaba. Moreover, blessed are those whose strength is in you, whose hearts are set on pilgrimage. As they pass through the valley of Becca, they make it a place of springs. The autumn rains also cover it with pools. They go from strength to strength till each appears before God in Zion. Zion in Hebrew refers to a high place. When people make this pilgrimage, okay, in that pilgrimage, there's a high place, the highest place that you would go to during that pilgrimage, which is between the two mountains of Safa and Marwa. Okay, Safa and Marwa.
Mhm.
Safa and Marwa refers to the two mountains that Hagar had ran between whilst she had left her son on, back on, near the ground and all of these things while she was looking for food and water. And the springs and the rains and the pools and all these things also refers back to the psalm that we were reading before in Genesis 21, where it talks about how she found a spring of water. Now, the Quranic narrative tells us that this spring of water is in reference to the what's it called? So have you heard of the Zemzem well?
That's like, yeah, I think so. Like, you
It's
guys like drink the water out of it, right?
right, and
Or something, yeah.
this well in the Islamic narrative is found by Ishmael and Hagar, right? The word Zamzam means to stop, stop, right? And the whole point of the name is because when Hagar had first found it with Ishmael, she was like, basically the water was coming out at a gushing speed and it wasn't stopping. So she had said to it, stop, stop. And here we see then God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. So she went and filled the skin with water and gave the boy a drink. That's what it says in Genesis 21, right? And you also see that in Psalm 84, where it talks about the gushing spring and the rain and all of these different things. It very clearly talks about a pilgrimage that's being done. It makes reference to, the high place that she was also in. It talks about God's house, talks about, the people filling the house with praise for God. So I don't know how this would be a reach. It literally mentions the place by name as well. The same name that's mentioned in the Quran right here.
I mean, I'll have to do my own research. I honestly don't know too much about that, but
No
yeah,
problem.
I'll give you that one, I guess.
Okay.
But yeah, but going back to my point, like, how do you know what is corrupted in the Bible or other texts, and how do you know that what's in the Quran is true?
Okay. Well, firstly, as it pertains to the corruption of the New Testament, I don't hold it to the same thing as the Old Testament. I believe the Old Testament is not as corrupt as the New Testament. The Old Testament is only going to have, some little variance in terms of textual, right? But the New Testament is what's going to be a bigger issue in terms of what we believe, right? And not even just what we believe, but also what we know about historically. So even aside from just the Islamic narrative, right, a lot of scholarship will come to the conclusion that there has been changes which are made to the Bible. We know this based off of the progression of the manuscript over over the years of the early church. We know that they were not set on one specific manuscript when the church had first been established. There's, even today, there's different canons of the Bible, right? It doesn't even, this refers to like Orthodox and Oriental and Catholic, all three of them claiming to go back to the original belief, right? They don't hold to the same canon. So that in and of itself is already going to be some level of corruption because it's an addition or omission of the text, right? That's not intended by the author. For us, right, and our belief, as well as what it says in a lot of the narratives which are accepted by all the beliefs, or all the sects of Christianity as it pertains to the gospel, is that Jesus himself had received a message from God and he was meant to be going around and preaching that message, right? That's the gospel. It says, I believe in the gospel of Matthew, it says Jesus went around Galilee preaching the gospel. Okay. And
Uh-huh.
in the Quran, it also talks about how the fact that this revelation was something given directly to Jesus. But what we have today is not the gospel of Jesus. We have the gospel according to Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, and all these other individuals that add their opinions to the book. Okay, so this is why I say, as it pertains to the New Testament and the Old Testament, it's two different stories. Okay, even without the Islamic understanding of corruption, there is still, scholarship in terms of, you know, textual criticism and the historicity of the Bible itself that will criticize the Bible in the same way that Muslims would, right? But
Uh-huh.
as it pertains to the Old Testament, it's a little bit different. The Old Testament is something which, firstly, it starts in the time of Moses. The time of Moses, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is about 1500 years before Jesus. Okay. And
Uh-huh.
while we may have some, small fragmentary pieces over the course of the years, we don't actually have any like actual manuscript up until the 3rd century BCE, or like I guess you could say like an entire manuscript, right? A full complete manuscript of the Old Testament, right? This is called the Greek Septuagint. Okay. So that's the oldest
Uh-huh.
manuscript that we have, the Greek Septuagint, as well as the Dead Sea Scrolls. But the Greek Septuagint's a little bit older. Both of them are found around the same point, but the Greek Septuagint in its entirety precedes the Dead Sea Scrolls in its entirety. The Dead Sea Scrolls was not entirely found until the 1st century, I believe, 1st century BCE. So I think maybe they're still looking for some parts of it. I'm not too sure about all that. But point being, we don't actually have something that goes directly back to Moses, right? But what we do have, there's not too much in terms of textual difference between the manuscripts that we find. Obviously, one of them being in Greek and the others being in like Hebrew or whatever other language, it would be a little bit more difficult to compare them to each other. But generally speaking, we don't find too much of a textual difference. What we believe regarding the Old Testament is that there's going to be more of a corruption of the meaning, right? That just simply means that the people who were held in charge of it, right, such as the rabbis and such, had misinterpreted the particular chapters that God had given them,
Uh-huh.
purposefully, right? And over
So in the
time,
case of
go ahead,
Ishmael and
Hagar or
no,
Abraham,
no.
Abraham.
Yeah, in the case of Ishmael and Abraham, which account is true, the Quranic account or the Torah, or
Do you
the
mean
account
in
in the
terms
Torah?
of you mean in terms
In
of
terms of which son was
oh, okay.
sacrificed, because that would be a
So
contradiction,
no,
right?
so well, not really, because the Quran itself doesn't tell you which son specifically it was, right? This is actually an opinion that comes from the scholars. So the majority of the scholars, they say that Ishmael is the one who did it, and they give their evidences for it. However, um, as it pertains to the Old Testament, I would actually argue that there is something which is called a doublet or a triplet. Now, a doublet or triplet just simply means that as it pertains to the authors for the Old Testament, there's a particular narrative or something that is imposed that is called, what was it? The documentary hypothesis. So the documentary hypothesis basically compares, or they have like 4 proposed writers of the Torah. Okay. And they say that these 4 writers of the Torah, they wrote in different ways. Okay, different ways or different styles of writings that would be actually, you're able to see this different style of writing from the text itself. So, for example, we have, I believe it's Genesis 15 and Genesis 17, where we see 2 accounts of a covenant being made with Abraham. Okay, now the first story, you know what? I'll just show it to you. It'll be easier so that you can see what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's easier if I just see it.
Okay. Uh, okay. All right, so Genesis 15, it talks about what? So it starts with the Lord's covenant with Abraham, right? Or Abram, sorry. So it says, after this, the word of the Lord came to Abram in a vision. Do not be afraid, Abram, I'm your shield. But Abram said, Sovereign Lord, what can you give me since I remain childless? And the one who will inherit my estate is Eliezer of Damascus. And Abram said, you have given me no children, so a servant in my household will be my heir. Then the word of the Lord came to him, this man will not be your heir, but a son who is your own flesh and blood will be your heir. So as we could see, there's no qualification of any particular son that's being spoken about here, right? He just simply says, a son who is your own flesh and blood is going to be the heir, correct? So far, so
Yes.
good? Okay. So it says he took him outside and said, look up at the sky and count the stars, if you indeed you can count them. Then he said to him, so shall your offspring be. Abram believed the Lord, and he credited to him as righteousness. He's also said to him, I'm the Lord who brought you out of Ur. And it goes so on and so forth. It basically goes into how there's a covenant that's made with God and Abraham. Yes, this is the original covenant. Okay?
Okay.
So the problem that some scholars talk about is that when you go to Genesis 17, if I'm not mistaken, there's another covenant now that's being made. Okay, so it says, when Abram was 99 years old, the Lord appeared to him and said, I am God Almighty, walk before me faithfully and blamelessly. Then I will make my covenant between me and you and will greatly increase your numbers. Abram fell face down, and God said to him, as for me, this is my covenant with you. You will be the father of many nations. So it sounds very similar to the first narrative that we just heard, right? Except the wording is being changed a little. So in the other one, it says, look up at the stars and count how many stars there are. This is how many, offspring you're going to have and such. But this time, he's saying the same thing. He's saying, this is my covenant. So again, talking about the covenant again, you're going to be the father of many nations. So it describes it in a different way than what was described the first time, right? And then it talks about how no longer you will be called Abram, you'll be called Abraham, for I have made you a father of many nations. I'll make you very fruitful, and so on and so on and so on. And it says, where is it? I'll give you. Oh, it says, I will give as an everlasting possession to you and your descendants after you, and I will be their God. As for you, you must keep my covenant, you and your descendants after you for the generations to come. This is my covenant with you and your descendants after you, the covenant you are to keep. Every male among you shall be circumcised. So again, no specification of any specific child, right? He simply says you and all your descendants have to observe this covenant, correct? Okay, now there's one more. Okay, sorry. So, I believe it's in 21 or 22. I think it's 22. Yeah. Okay. So now, in the beginning of 22, we see a different narrative that's being told again. So it talks about sometime later, God tested Abraham. He said to him, Abraham, here I am, he replied. Then God said, take your son, your only son whom you love, your only son whom you love, Isaac, and go to the region of Moriah. So now Ishmael is being completely wiped out the picture, even though Ishmael is older. And if you know about the lineages and all of these things as it pertains to the people in that region, the oldest son is always the one who takes precedence not the younger one, right? The oldest one
Wait,
is
but isn't this related
Go ahead.
to isn't this related to who Ishmael's mother was versus who Isaac's mother was?
Yeah,
Like,
and the way that the
like
Jews
because of Jewish
Mhm.
tradition was, yeah.
So no, the thing is that the Jews and the Christians they try to cover it up by saying, "Oh, she was just a maidservant, right? She wasn't his actual wife, right?" But the book itself says that she was his wife, right? And there's nothing that was in the Judaic law at the time that forbade him from having multiple wives, right? And again, from what we saw in the original two, chapter 15 and chapter 17, 15 and 16, if I'm not mistaken, or 15 and
Wait, where
17.
does it say that she's his wife?
Genesis
Where is that?
17, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Or 18. Hold on. It's in the beginning of one of these verses. Hold on. So it says, Now Sarai, Abram's wife, had borne him no children, but she had an Egyptian slave named Hagar. So she said to Abram, The Lord has kept me from having children. Go sleep with my slave. Perhaps I can build a family through her. Abram agreed to what Sarah said. So after Abram had been living in Canaan for 10 years, Sarai, his wife, took her Egyptian slave Hagar and gave her to her husband to be his wife. So he slept with Hagar and she conceived. So it's very clear. Talks about the fact that she is his wife. He didn't Abraham wasn't an adulterer. None of the Jews nor the Christians say that he was an adulterer for this. There's actually no law that even forbade in the
There's
Old.
no negative connotation behind her being a slave, I guess, or
No, so that's the narrative that's told later, is that Sarah got jealous because, or she thought that Hagar got jealous because, no, it was Sarah that got jealous because Ishmael was obviously getting older and such. So that's in 17, if I'm not mistaken, or sorry, 21. So that's what it talks about here. So this is why they're sent away, right? It says the child grew, so referring to Isaac. Isaac was just born now. So it says the child grew and was weaned, but Sarah saw that the son whom Hagar the Egyptian had born to Abraham was mocking, and she said to Abraham, Get rid of that slave woman and her son, for that woman's son will never share in the inheritance with my son Isaac. So this is, Sarah saying this, right, according to the Jewish, understanding or the Christian biblical narrative. It says that Sarah is the one who's saying this. It doesn't say God said this, right? There's
uh,
nothing that God said in the other two covenants that we read which would have excluded Ishmael, right?
I mean, from
From the
the
other
sentence structure, yeah, I guess,
right.
yeah.
The only time where we start to see that is when we get to Genesis 22 here, where it starts to exclude him. So this is something which I referred to you prior about called the
So
documentary.
you're saying that this is this is an interpolation, right?
This would be an example of an interpolation, but not based off of what I say. Again, you could look at actual scholarship that says this. This is something which is called the documentary hypothesis, in which there's a proposed idea that the biblical narrative doesn't, the Torah specifically, the first 5 books, has multiple writers for it. Okay, so the idea or the proposed understanding between all three of the beliefs is that Moses wrote the Torah, but obviously over those years and those centuries that I told you, where we don't actually have manuscripts, and we believe that people had changed the meanings, and over time, changing meaning can also change the text itself to suit the narrative of the meaning, right? So what they say about these, right, in terms of the documentary hypothesis, is that there could have been multiple writers, not necessarily changing the entirety of the narrative, but changing certain words or verbiage or what have you in order to better suit the narrative. In this case, this is what we would call a triplet as it pertains to the documentary hypothesis. So that's something that, if you'd like, you could go and look into it more on your own time.
Yeah, I'll have to look into it on my
Of
own
course.
time.
No
But
problem.
yeah.
Okay, ma'am. Anything
All right.
else?
I'm sure I'll come up with other things another time. But
By all
yeah,
means,
I'll
you're
request when I have those things.
no problem. You're welcome to come back whenever you'd like, okay?
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.
Thank you. Hello.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. Are you Muslim?
Yes.
Okay. How can I help you?
Alhamdulillah.
How can I help you, brother?
Alhamdulillah. Itachi, you're very, first I have to say you're very knowledgeable. From the lives I have come into, you've really debated very well.
Appreciate it.
My question is that, and it comes from the Gospel from Matthew. I believe it says it's talking about the stone, the cornerstone in Kaaba,
Mm-hmm.
and that anyone who falls upon this stone will be grind to powder. So, could you explain that to me? And is it talking about the black? It's talking about the black stone.
No, so actually there's a hadith where the Prophet ﷺ makes reference to the fact that there is a stone which okay, let me actually I'll get you the story. But basically there is a story that you could read in the Sirah. Okay, and I encourage anybody who's here to read the Sirah because you will actually gain a lot of more information as it pertains to the obviously Islam and what it has to say regarding the prior scriptures and stuff. The best one that you could read is Sirat ibn Hisham. So there's a instance where the Prophet ﷺ is
And
yeah,
and
go ahead.
whoever it goes and but
What was
let me
that?
see. I'm trying to read you. It says, "And who falls on the stone will be broken to pieces, but he who on whom it falls will be grind to powder."
Okay. Yeah, so it talks about a cornerstone that is missing, right? And you're talking about Matthew 21?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that cornerstone that's missing, okay. The Prophet ﷺ, there's a specific instance in which he is by the Kaaba, and he talks about how all of the prophets basically there's like how they are sort of like in comparison to the specific the way that the structure is built, right, where all of them are basically holding up the same one foundation, which would be the religion, right? And then there's one stone that's missing, and he says, I am that cornerstone, right? It was a stone that was on the corner, and he says that I am that last stone that is, the completion of this foundation of all of the prophets and such. So let me just let me get you that narration really quick if you'd like, and you could look into what the scholars say regarding it, because a lot of them actually do link it back to Matthew 21 as well.
Because I've had people, I've had a Christian who's told me that Kabbalah, that we're actually like satanic worshipers.
That's not the same thing at all. Kabbalah is completely different.
I've had people say that there was a rabbi who kind of co-wrote the Quran with the Prophet, and who delivered the stone to him. Like I've had people tell me this, and then coming from Christianity. So could you please reference this Matthew and explain this to me? And
Yeah, 1 second. I don't know what the Kabbalah thing has to do though. That's like random Jews that come much later on. Like that has nothing to do with the Kaaba. Let me just get you the hadith first. Okay. Can you see my screen?
yes.
Okay, so this is Bukhari 3535. It says, narrated Abu Hurairah radiallahu anh, Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, my similitude in comparison with the other prophets before me is that of a man who has built a house nicely and beautifully, except for a place of one brick in a corner. The people go about it and wonder at its beauty, but say, would that this brick be put in its place. So I am that brick, and I am the last of the prophets. I would encourage you, just write down this hadith number for now.
Yeah.
And then when you leave the live, inshallah, you could go look into, the different scholars that actually link this particular hadith back to Matthew 21, because they will break it down a lot better for you. I could also just send you the notes that I do have regarding this as well, just because it would take a long time just to go through explaining and all that stuff. But if you message me, I could send you those notes if you'd like.
The Bukhari 355.
No, 3535. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, brother.
And one more last question. It's also another one. It says where it says Jesus is speaking to Satan and saying that get behind me, and thou shalt not tempt thy Lord. So is he's not?
You're talking about the reference that Satan makes to him about, jump off the cliff and such?
I think around that
Yeah.
around there where
All
Jesus is saying that Satan stand behind me, for thou shall not tempt thy Lord.
Yeah, all that's going to be is the fact that God himself is not going to be tempted into doing anything. It's not Satan calling Jesus God himself, because we also know that Jesus calls upon God throughout the entire narrative. So, um,
Because when I read from what I've seen of the New Testament, even it's as if Jesus is defending God's honor and praise.
Right.
You know.
Yes. Let me just.
But thank you, Itachi. It was very short. That was really my only kind of
Okay.
what I
yeah.
was questioning.
Like I said, just message me and I'll send you the notes regarding the cornerstone. Okay.
And is it true that the angels constructed the Kaaba, where the Kaaba is first? It was the first construction, like it was
No,
constructed by angels.
it talks about Adam
Earth?
alayhi salam being the one that constructed it, then Ibrahim, and then obviously later on it was reconstructed and constructed multiple times after the Muslims and such. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sister.
No problem. Okay. Assalamu alaikum. Okay. Chat. We've got one of the chosen back for round 2, bro. That guy's so irritating. I can't stand his voice. That's why he was only here for like 2 minutes last time. It's up to you guys if you want him to come up or not. You know what? Never mind. He's not coming up. Not after that. You're weird as hell. You're actually weird as hell, bro. I would literally only bring you up just to clip farm. I will literally only bring you up to clip farm. Alright, this person's not loading in. Yes, any Christian who comes up here and gets destroyed, you have to pay jizya. Hello?
Hello.
How are you?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How you doing, sister?
Alhamdulillah, how can I help you, akhi?
I wanted to ask you about, you were just talking about the seerah. You say Ibn Ishaq. Was that the seerah that you
No,
referred?
Ibn Hisham.
Ibn Hisham. So
Yeah,
was
he
he the first
talks.
person that,
No, I believe it's one of like the second, or either the second or the third. I'm not too sure which specific one, but it was very early on as well. But he takes a lot of it, like he compares a lot of the narratives that are in the Islamic narrative of the Sirah and stuff, and links it back to like the Old Testament and the New Testament prophecies as well. So
okay. Because I just ordered one. I just got the sealed nectar.
the
Is that
sealed
one of the
nectar,
newer ones?
the sealed nectar is, yeah, it's a lot newer. It was like in the 1970s or 80s and such. But
Okay.
that one's more of just like a basic understanding. It's more of just like the wars and stuff. There's a few good details in there. I read that one a few Ramadans ago on live. You would definitely it's still a good one. But if you want something which is more in depth and relates back to the prior scriptures and stuff, that's why I would recommend Ibn Hisham's.
Yeah, I think that one's gonna be right up my alley.
Yeah, you might be able to find a copy of it on online, like a PDF or something. I could look for it.
I'd rather just order the book, honestly. I'm more
Okay,
of a book
inshallah.
person.
Yeah, I'm not too sure though if there's an English translation in book form or anything. So
Okay.
that's why I'm saying that the
Okay,
PDF you
okay.
might be able to find. I don't know if there's an English book form of it. So
So I gotta step my Arabic game up.
I'm not too sure. Maybe there's somebody who did like a lesson on it on YouTube or something. So you could definitely look that up as well. I'm sure somebody might have gone through it on YouTube, done a lecture on it or something, like one of those
Okay,
playlist lectures.
okay, I appreciate it. Jazakallah, man. Allah bless you in what you're doing.
Well, yeah, okay, no problem.
Ameen.
All right, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Somebody said they have it in okay, Aisha W. I didn't know that they have it in English, so. All right, next.
Yeah, hello?
Hello. How can I help you, sir?
Yeah, I had to put my phone on charge. So I want to engage with the proposition, Islam is true, prove me wrong. So I have an argument against it. I could go through it really quick if that's cool.
All right, before you do that, can you just turn the TV off in the background?
Oh, my bad. Give me 1 second. All right, it's gone.
Okay. What's your argument?
Yeah, so my argument is well, first you do believe that God is a necessary being, right?
Yes.
Okay, you do believe God is necessarily maximally good, right?
What do you mean by maximally good?
Yeah, meaning that that this being has moral judgments that we ought think are that we ought prefer that we ought to think should be preferred.
Brother, do you actually have like a proper definition, or is this, something you're making up on the fly now?
No, I actually have this argument written down.
Okay, so where'd you get that definition from?
Of what?
Of maximally good. Like, who understands it this way? Like, I didn't even understand what you just said. You just...
Okay, I mean, how do you understand maximally good?
Yeah, that God, he is that which encompasses goodness. There is no, sort of evil within him himself, right?
Yeah, so you just simply mean like God has no moral judgments that
No,
would be deemed to
it's
be
more...
morally wrong, right?
No, so anything which he does by definition would be good. Anything which he deems as being good is something which is going to be good. It's not something which is going to be arbitrary based off of opinion or not, right? That
Okay,
which he
so you
does
don't believe like
automatically
God
is
is
good.
okay, so do you believe that God is identical to all
No, we don't
quote
believe...
unquote good moral judgments, or
No, we don't believe that God is identical to attributes. No,
okay, so you're like a divine command theorist?
no,
I mean, that sounds like divine command theory.
not a divine command theorist, brother.
Okay, so can you tell me a little bit more about your position then?
My position is that God has attributes that are distinct from him. They are not other than him, nor are they separate from him. And as it pertains to goodness, anything which he deems as being good is automatically what is going to be considered as good.
Okay, so the reason that I'm asking you about your position a little bit here is because when you say anything that God deems to be good, that's how actually divine command theorists understand what goodness is when it's what goodness is in respect to God, right?
Yeah,
And then
but divine command theorists don't say that there are certain things which are inherently bad, right? I do have that caveat where there are certain things that are going to be inherently bad. So, for example, things could have an inherent nature, such as, for example, rape
well,
or
I mean
murder.
that's perfectly fine, but
So that's
I mean
not
when it
divine
comes
command
to
theorists, though.
that's okay, but I'm just speaking about I guess in this sense, quote unquote, the mechanics of uh the mechanics of when it comes to like which moral judgments are good and which isn't. It would be quote unquote the same as any divine command theorist. They would say that any moral judgment is going to be good if it is deemed by good, or if it is deemed good by God.
Not necessarily, because God isn't going to deem, for example, like unjustified unaliving as good, or grape as good, right? That's
Okay,
where we
then
would differ with the divine
right.
command theorist.
So you think these things are like inherently wrong?
Certain things are going to be inherently wrong.
Okay,
Yes.
great. So then, I mean, the first position I brought up to you is, which was that do you think that God is identical to all good moral
No.
judgments? You said no to this. So
that
if
doesn't
God
make
cannot do,
sense. It doesn't make sense for God to be identical to a proposition.
well, do you think that goodness is an attribute of God?
Yeah, an attribute of
Okay.
God, but it's not something which is identical to him, i.e., identical to his existence or to his essence, right? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, so quote unquote, you would hold like a distinction between his attributes and his essence, right?
Yes, but it's not going to be a distinction of separation. It's just going to be a distinction in terms of a minor real distinction.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. It's still in alignment with how this argument runs. So when you say that when you say there is a distinction between quote unquote like these good judgments or this goodness that you speak of, like I guess if you would prefer, I could reword it in a way that says I guess that doesn't use the word identical.
Well, I mean, I
Like
don't
if
really
that's what you
see
prefer.
I don't really see how the argument's going to follow anymore because, you know, people who believe in classical like classical theism hold to a completely different understanding of God than how he operates from those who hold to, like, you know, a later
Okay.
theistic understanding. So
Well, do you hold on to like classical theism or no?
no.
Okay, yeah, that's perfectly fine.
It's
I mean, would you
not
say
though,
that goodness
because
is would you say that goodness is an extrinsic or intrinsic property of God?
that doesn't make sense.
What part of that does not make sense?
But God, by definition, doesn't have extrinsic properties.
Okay, so you would just say it's, I mean, there's some people that do hold that God does have intrinsic properties, so I'm just
I
double
said
checking.
extrinsic. I said extrinsic. What is an extrinsic properties? A property that exists outside of him? No.
Okay, that's perfectly fine. So you do believe that all of God's attributes are going to be intrinsic to him?
There's some that are essential and there are some that are intrinsic. Not all intrinsic ones are essential. No.
Would you say that goodness is essential to him or no?
I would say so, yeah.
Okay, cool. Then, I mean, I don't see how this argument is invalid
Okay.
or not sound. It's valid.
Go
How is
ahead.
it not sound?
Where's the argument? You haven't even given an argument yet.
Yeah, so a necessary being must be maximally good in the sense that which you understand it. Then that being must have moral judgments in alignment with normative moral truths. Being X has moral judgments
Where do you get
that
the
are not
normative?
in alignment.
Sorry, 1 second. Where do you get
Go
the
ahead.
normative? Where do you get the normative moral truths?
Well, you don't think that any moral judgment by God is going to be normative?
What do you mean by that? That's what I'm asking.
Like anything that God says is good is something that we ought to do. Anything that God deems for us
Okay.
is good is something that
Yes,
which we must strive to do.
in terms of what he deems for us, yes, that's what we would strive
Okay.
to do, correct?
Right. So if being X has moral judgments that are not in alignment with normative moral truths, therefore being X is not maximally good.
Therefore, what
And then I have,
hold on,
yeah, I
hold
have
on.
substitution.
Backtrack again.
Yeah, go ahead.
After the normative thing, can you say that again?
Oh yeah, for sure. Being X has moral judgments that are not in alignment with normative moral truths. Therefore, being X is not maximally good.
What is being X?
Being X in question would be God.
Okay, being X is not necessary for him to follow rules and judgments that he gives us specifically, right? Those rules and judgments that he gives us is relative to the world that we live in or the universe that we live in. He doesn't
So-
actually live in our universe, right?
Perfectly fine. So would you say that God can make a moral judgment that be quote unquote deemed bad for our universe?
What do you mean by that? Because
Yeah,
what
so
do you
I
mean
mean-
by bad? It depends on, like, do you like something in which it's going to harm the universe?
No, that's not what I mean by bad. Like
Okay.
you said, there are things that are inherently bad.
Yeah, such as grape or whatnot. He wouldn't, you know,
Okay,
he wouldn't
great.
deem that as something which you are allowed to do.
Okay, great. So being X is not going to be, you're saying, what you're trying to say here is that being X is not going to be constrained by any nomological law within the universe.
Yeah, because these things
And-
don't apply to being X to begin with. There's no situation in which being X does this particular thing, right?
That's perfectly fine. But if being X could deem something, quote unquote, in this universe or for this existence, right? If he says, okay, if he could deem something, then anything and everything that he deems to be for this universe to be good has to be good, right? We ought to think that it is good.
Okay, so like any of the moral judgments that he gives, they're automatically good. Is that all you're saying?
Yeah, that's pretty much what I'm saying right there.
Okay.
A
Yeah,
hundred
that's
percent.
what I already said that.
Okay, so from this first argument right here, we could understand that if being X is making moral judgments that are not in alignment with normative moral truths, we could deem this being to be as illogical,
Again,
right?
I
Because
don't. Hold on. You're circling back to something. I already told you that he himself is not constrained by these things. These are rules and laws that he gives us, right? But he himself doesn't have situations where he goes through these things. So I don't know why you're like repeating that part.
right, so if being X is giving moral judgments that we ought to follow for our universe, do you think these moral judgments ought to be good or not?
Yeah, they
Can
ought to.
God be?
But again,
Can God?
I
Wait,
don't
just
have a
go
problem
ahead.
with
Finish.
that part. I'm saying the problem with what
Right.
you're saying
That is
is
that
that
part.
you're applying it back to him, whereas he's not in any of these situations. That's the point that I'm saying. Like you repeated that part again
Perfectly
after I just
fine.
said they don't apply to him.
Perfectly fine. So let me try to rephrase it and give you another example.
I don't
So
need
we
you to
could.
rephrase it. I just need you to understand that that part does not
I
apply to
understand what you're
God.
saying.
Okay, so you don't need to
Okay, then let
rephrase,
me.
then move on.
Great. Let me ask you a question to clarify more of your position.
Okay.
Can God tell anybody in this universe to do something that is inherently bad?
Depends on what
Because
that
that's all that part is saying.
depends on what the justification specifically is. Because if the thing is inherently bad, but there's something which, you know, in the end result of it, he says is something which is good, then no, there's no issue with that. Because the ruling
Okay,
comes from
so
him
if
himself.
there's a greater type of good type thing going on here, right?
Yeah, so there's an example of how, like, for example, in the Quran, it talks about how there was a specific moment where Moses was traveling with Al-Khidr, and he said that Al-Khidr was, he basically had the ability to foresee the future, and he had unalived a man that was living with, you know, his parents, and Moses didn't know why he did that, but obviously because he had the power to see in the future, the reason why he unalived him was due to the fact that he was going to be one who was going to be bad to his parents to the point where he would have led them astray from belief and such. So he unalived him, and the parents ended up having a new son that actually kept them steadfast. So yeah, that's a situation where an unaliving was
Okay,
justified, right?
Yeah, go ahead and finish.
Okay.
Yeah, perfectly fine. Yeah, I mean, I completely understand what you're saying, but so would your stance be on moral judgments is that they are dependent upon context, or would you say they are
They're gonna
moral
be
judgments are independent of context?
no, they're gonna depend on context, because if we just say unaliving is bad, that's going to be dependent on the context, right? It is bad if it is being done with absolutely no reason, in which case it is the unjust unaliving. Whereas if it's done with a particular reason behind it, such as, for example, self-defense, then that's a case where we would say it's not necessarily bad, right?
Okay. And I also just want to make sure this is part of your position. Do you think that everything in this universe has a reason?
Everything in this universe has a reason. Yeah, everything that is not God has something that
And it
explains
must have
its
a reason.
existence.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect. Yeah, so would you say like there would be a reason to justify grape, for instance? And the only reason that I'm bringing this up is because you said there are some acts that would be deemed as inherently bad, right? And if we understand everything in this universe is going to be quote unquote having a reason, then there are going to be then I just don't understand, like, if these acts are quote unquote context dependent, what makes them inherently bad?
Right. Them being inherently bad is due to the fact that they are devoid of good, right? Not that they themselves are not evil or good. So for example, there's certain like good things that could be not fully good, right? Something which is just minimal. So it's like a spectrum, okay? There is good on this side, there's evil on this side in the terms of the two extremes, okay?
Yeah, but there's like a divider, right?
Let me finish that. No, let me finish.
My bad.
Okay.
Go ahead. Yeah, my bad.
So
Go ahead and
you
finish.
have them here. Obviously, there's, you know, the middle point is where it's going to be something which is neutral, but for the most part, there's not really like specific things that are going to be neutral. So for example, in that case of unaliving but justly, you could say that this is going to be more like what? Let's just say 55 to 65%. Okay. Whereas in the case of somebody who unalives unjustly, okay, let's say that would be like they have some sort of justification for why they did it, but it's going to be at like, you know, more towards this side as like 85 to 95% unjust or evil, right? It's not something which is completely devoid because the person didn't necessarily have the wrong intention, but they came to a judgment call that they were not allowed to do on their own, right? It goes against something which God had told them. So in terms of that spectrum, things can land between each of these things, right? But in the case of grape, obviously nobody says that grape in and of itself has any good thing inside of it. So I don't get the question. Like, God doesn't condone rape, or he doesn't condone, grape. I'm not supposed to say that on the live. He doesn't condone grape, right? But the people that do it, they have the ability to do so. That doesn't mean that he condones of the action.
Okay, so I could clarify a little bit about that example, but it's kind of trivial, so I'm not going to linger too much on it.
Okay.
Because there's a more underlying pressing issue that you were just discussing, and that's what I want to discuss with you.
Go ahead.
So with the whole grape situation, you're saying that any act X could be deemed as morally good and morally permissible if there is more goodness coming out of it than there is harm, right?
Yeah, but it's specific to whether or not God had said so. But there's no case in which God says
Perfectly
that grape is okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even gonna get. Look, I'm not even gonna get rhetorical here. Let's just continue. This is an amazing conversation. You're an amazing person. I think this right here is an amazing discussion. So let's just continue with this. So when we're looking and deeming on this thing on the spectrum, I just want you to clarify there is going to be no neutrality, right? Because I think a neutral zone is just going to make what could be deemed what could be deemed as good and what could be deemed as bad arbitrary.
Arbitrary to who? To you?
No, just in general, independent of me.
Yeah, it's going to be arbitrary in terms of things which are not all-knowing, but that which is all-knowing, it wouldn't necessarily be arbitrary, because if it knows all things,
So to
by
God, there is
definition,
like no neutral zone, right?
well, not
It's
necessarily. Yeah, it's
50-50.
not really going to be a neutral zone, but there could be a
Yeah.
justification that is led behind the particular action that occurs that would allow it to be more skewed towards one over the other. But it depends on the situation. That's why we said context dependent is going to be important.
Okay, perfectly fine. And I want you to remember that part where you said it is going to be dependent upon an all-knowing being having some justification X, which would allow X to be a morally permissible and a morally quote unquote good judgment. So I mean, when we were looking at this argument, right? So you attacked the soundness of the argument, right? But everything you said is just pretty much everything that I've said in this argument.
I didn't attack the soundness of the argument. The only thing that I disagreed with or had a contention with was the idea that God is identical to an attribute of his own. We just don't believe that.
Oh, that's perfectly fine. I think this argument is going to be valid, even if that is the case.
Okay, that's fine. Let's just get to the argument. We've been saying that the argument.
100%.
Let me just hear the argument, and then we could go through that. Okay, what's the argument?
Yeah, so I have a substitutionary argument. It's let me pull it up. Yeah, an act is morally permissible. Here,
Alright.
let me see.
Let me write it down. Okay, let me just
cool.
open this up.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So what's the first premise?
You're just give me a second if that's cool. I'm gonna mute up real quick.
Okay.
Since I have like a lot of background noise.
Okay. Is this philosophy class? Sorry, guys. I know I don't really like the whole philosophy thing either, but sometimes we get people that ask about philosophy, so it is what it is. It's okay. While you're here, though, please like and share the live. Honestly, I might just get Anas in here, or Omar. I really hate talking about these topics now. I like the scripture arguments, to be honest, but I'll just, for the sake of this guy, I'll talk to him.
Alright, cool.
Yeah, go ahead. What's the first premise?
Yeah, so it's if an act is morally I don't know if I could say this because we're on TikTok, so I mean I'm just gonna say the argument and you could pretty much use context clues to derive it.
Okay.
If an act is morally permissible, if and only if all parties can give informed autonomous consent.
Wait. You said if an act is morally permissible, if and only if? That doesn't make sense.
Oh, my bad. Take out the if part. An act is only permissible if and only if all parties can give informed and autonomous consent.
All parties can give informed and autonomous consent?
100%.
Okay.
Okay. Informed autonomous consent requires cognitive and decision-making capacities,
Hold on.
understanding.
Hold on. Back it up a little.
Yeah.
What was it? Repeat?
Oh, you're writing it down. My
Yes,
fault.
yes.
Let me slow this down. Informed autonomous consent requires cognitive and decision-making capacities, i.e.,
Cognitive.
understanding.
Hold on. Cognitive what?
reasoning.
You said cognitive what? I just can't hear because of your background, bro.
Yeah, that's my fault. Thank you for bearing with me, though.
Okay. Informed autonomous consent requires cognitive
And decision-making capacities.
and decision making capacities. Okay.
Yeah. i.e., understanding, reasoning.
Okay.
Okay. P3.
i.e. understanding and reasoning.
Yeah, i.e., understanding and reasoning.
Okay. P3.
Yeah, so humans at age 9 do not reliably possess these capacities.
This was your
They lack-
argument the whole time?
100%.
Are you slow?
Do you want to discuss?
Are you freaking slow? Oh my god. There's actually no way he just wasted 20 minutes just to get to freaking Aisha radiallahu anha being 9, bro. There's actually no way. Oh my god. Oh, there's actually no way. I literally sat there for 20 minutes with you waffling about goodness just to get to Aisha radiallahu anha being 9. Brother, you could have just said that from the beginning and I would have told you that she was able to give autonomous consent. You're so dumb. You're actually the worst person I've had the entire time I've gone live. The biggest waffler I've had is you. Genuinely, the biggest waffler that I've had on the live. If you want to go and know about Aisha radiallahu anha, go watch my 50 other lives where people ask me the same freaking question, bro. Go click the link in my bio. Go click on the YouTube link. There's like 50 lives where every single live somebody came up and asked me about Aisha. You could go and watch those, bro. Oh my god. There's no way. There's no way. There's no way. There is literally no way. We need a waffle emoji. Hey, man. I genuinely can't believe he just wasted 20 minutes. He wasted 20 minutes bringing that up.
Yo, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum
I don't know
salam.
what that was all about, but did you hear there's a new madhab unlocked?
No.
It's called the Jerusalem madhab.
Hello. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
So Islam isn't true because it contradicts Christianity.
Didn't you come here yesterday and say that?
Yeah, but my phone died.
Oh, okay. Do I
So
care
now
that
I'm
it contradicts Christianity?
You should, since it doesn't make it true.
Why do I care that it contradicts Christianity? It says that it contradicts Christianity.
Yeah. Why would it need to contradict Christianity?
Because Christianity is false.
And why?
Because you have a false belief of God that does not
Wait, why?
precede. Yeah, you have a false belief in God that does not precede anybody prior to the 1st century, unless you believe in paganism and polytheism, in which case you could go and join the Romans and the Greeks who believed in multiple deities and one being, or you could join the Hindus who believe in multiple beings, one deity, right? So, it's
Yeah.
not in line with what the prior prophets had stated. It's not in line with what Jesus stated either. I could ask you, did Jesus worship the Trinity?
Yeah. So
Can you answer
where
the
do you
question?
get? No, because
No, you
no
can't
one
answer the question?
believes. No, that didn't. I thought you said, did that answer your question?
No, I said, can you answer that question? Did Jesus worship the Trinity?
Jesus, did he worship the Trinity?
Yes.
He worshiped the Father.
Right. So do you worship the Trinity or do you worship the Father alone?
Yeah, they're within each other.
So is Jesus the
The
Father?
Father. Yeah, the Father is within. He is not the Father per person, but he's the Father
okay.
in essence.
Okay. No,
Yeah.
he's not the Father in essence. He's God in essence.
Yeah, he's the God in essence, the Father.
No,
Father
he's
God?
not the Father in essence.
He's not the Father
oh
per
my
person.
God, there's
But
no.
he's God the Father. He is God the Father in essence. So anyway, what does this have to do with contradicting Christian?
Okay. Anyway. Hello.
Yo, assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. Are you Muslim?
No, I'm Catholic.
Okay.
So about the last question about Jesus, does he worship the Trinity? So basically, the Christian understanding.
Brother, I
I'll
don't
just
care about
make-
the last question. The guy clearly didn't know what he was talking about. Do you have an argument against Islam?
Yeah, well, basically, the premise here is says Islam is true. Prove me wrong. I just want to encourage all your viewers who have ancestors who were Catholic that.
Thanks, but no thanks. Hello?
Hi, how you doing?
Doing pretty good. How are you?
Yeah, not bad. I just wanted to ask, obviously, according to Islam, Jesus is a Muslim,
Yeah, according to Christianity and Judaism, well, not Judaism, but Christianity he's a Muslim too.
I'd have to disagree, but I guess it depends on how we define Muslim.
No,
But
it's in the Bible. A perfect servant of God is called a Muslim in the Bible, in Hebrew.
well, the word, I think you're referring to this Mushallam thing you guys bring a lot, but the word Muslim, as I'm using in English, is not the same as that word in Hebrew. Anyway,
Yes, it is, sir. Do you want to see?
It's fine. That's not what I came
you just made a claim, so I'm going to show you why you're wrong.
Why are we going to that?
Because you made a claim, and I'm going to show you that you're wrong. You're misinformed. Do you like being
Okay,
misinformed?
when I use the word Muslim, maybe
I
I'm
don't
using
care
it
how
incorrectly.
you use the word Muslim. I'm telling you that the word is
Yeah,
there
but
in Hebrew.
I'm the one using the word.
Right, and I'm telling you the word is there in the Hebrew, and you just said, oh, it's not the same word as in the Arabic, which is not true.
Yeah, but what's the definition of Muslim when we use it in English?
It's literally, there's two definitions for it. So one definition is going to be linguistic. One definition is going to be linguistic. The other definition is going to be relative to the particular religion. So the one that is relative to the particular religion encompasses the one of the linguistic definition, but the linguistic definition doesn't encompass the one of the religion. However, the linguistic one can also be used in reference to the religion itself if you substantiate that one from the linguistic understanding leads you to the conclusion of the religious understanding. So, like I said, in Isaiah 42...
I didn't come to argue this. Show it if you want. I mean, I don't know why we're going here, but...
Because you made a claim.
Because unfortunately, when you see... You're going to show me this Kimu Shalom, perfect servant of God. Yeah, that's what it's going to say.
Now, what does it say after that?
Well, this is the issue, though.
No, what does it say in the actual Hebrew? And when you click the concordance number, have you ever gone that far?
It says Muslim or something like that. But,
it does, right? So then why'd you say that it's not the same as Muslim?
Well, look, the definition of Muslim.
Did you try to come on here and swindle? Did you come on here and swindle us?
I didn't come to argue this.
Yeah, but you came and just swindled.
I said Muslim, and I don't believe Jesus was a Muslim. Then you said, according to Christianity, Jesus is a Muslim. Obviously, that's not true.
Swindling us.
But let's can we go to my argument, or you just want to go to this?
But you're swindling us.
This is what you use on like really well, I'm not gonna. Let's go to my argument. Right?
Okay.
You-
I'm
we've
gonna
seen-
show this
we've-
real quick. I'm gonna
we-
show this
we've
real
all
quick and we
seen
can go
this
to your
before.
argument. No problem. Just to be clear, it does say that the word is the same as the word in the Hebrew, right? It says it right here. Proper submission to God, a Muslim. For the word, ki mushallam. Okay. Now you can make your argument.
No problem. Okay. So what I want to know is, obviously, him being a Muslim and his followers being Muslims. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So who are his followers? Do we know? Do we know much about them? Do we know where they were, what they were doing? Do
His
we? Because
followers,
obviously,
his followers would have been the people that were with him.
okay. Obviously, the Quran mentions them a little bit about them being.
Doesn't mention their names. It just mentions
No,
that
it
they
doesn't
were
mention
their
their names, but it
disciples.
does mention them being superior to the day of resurrection and such like this. Is something like that? Is that
No.
something that's mentioned?
No, that's something that's talking about. That's a different context.
Oh, different context. Okay, can you tell me the context, please?
Yeah, the context of that is that there was two fighting sides in terms of the beliefs, and then as it pertains to the false belief, the false belief is not going to triumph over the true one. In which case, the
Okay.
true one, hold on. In which case, the true one, meaning the people who were true Christians that followed Jesus, and their people after them stayed on that belief, they eventually became the Muslims. So it's no longer referring to quote unquote Christians, it's referring now to the Muslims. Because the
No,
Muslims,
I understand. So what I'm trying to figure out is who are the Muslims like after Jesus. I can't
us,
pick out
us,
any
the
initially.
actual Muslims.
No, I'm talking more between the time of Jesus and Muhammad.
It would have been people
Can you
like
tell me? Can you give me the name of a single Muslim
it would have
between
been
Jesus and
it would have been the people such as the Unitarians who did not believe that Jesus was God, for example.
which Unitarians? Can
Doesn't
you give me a
matter. The
name
whole
or a
point.
person or a group?
Can you give me a name or a person of a group?
No, a name or a person or a group of people
Yeah,
who
so
were
you have
Muslim
you could
between
have
Jesus and
you
Muhammad.
have people such as the Basilidians who first of all
Oh,
didn't
the
believe.
Basilidians. Okay, the Basilid. So that's a good one. Good start. So the
Can you stop
Basilidians were
interrupting
Muslim.
me, please? I wasn't done.
I'm asking you if the Basilidians were
I
Muslim.
wasn't done.
No problem.
Okay. So you know the group in terms of Unitarians, what Unitarians believe, yes?
Well, Unitarian doesn't tell you much about someone's belief. That just means someone believes
Unitarian
in
means that
a
they believe in
unipersonal God. Yeah.
one
A
God, right? One
unipersonal God. But
person. Yeah, hold on.
yeah,
Stop
Jews.
doing that. Stop doing that.
Okay.
Stop
Okay,
interrupting.
go on.
Okay.
Go on.
Unitarians very clearly believe that only the Father is God, correct?
Very good. Yep.
Okay, beautiful. So they don't believe Jesus is God. They didn't associate partners with the
That's
Father.
true.
Okay,
That's true.
so that
But that
tells
doesn't
you,
make someone
yeah,
a Muslim, does it?
at the time of Jesus, that's what would make the person Muslim. If they followed the commands Jesus gave them and believed
Okay.
in only one God who was the Father at his time,
Okay, wait,
that
wait,
would
wait.
make them a
So,
Muslim.
okay, wait. So believing in one God makes you a Muslim. And believing in
Believing
Jesus makes you a Muslim.
believing in one God and the message that God sends in your time period is what makes you a Muslim.
Okay, so can we compare the Basilidians who you've mentioned to your theology and
I
see
said
whether
Unitarians first, sir.
Unitarians is not a that's like a
Unitarians is
very
a belief. Do you want me to
broad.
bring you a
No,
Unitarian right now so you get side
Unitarians
with?
is
Okay. You're being really irritating and frustrating. Can you please stop interrupting?
okay. Go on.
Okay. Do you want me to bring you a Unitarian now and show you how their belief is going to be closer to ours than you?
But it's actually Unitarians are very.
It
can I
doesn't
answer
matter.
you?
The whole point is that they believe
No,
in
but
one God. They believe in
I
one God.
understand.
Pay attention. The whole point
Mhm,
is that they believe in one God and the
mhm.
messenger of God. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what makes you a Muslim of your
No,
time
but
period.
okay. But believing in one God, you have to believe specific things about this God. As in, Islamic theology has never
No,
changed.
no. Islamic
Islamic
theology
Mhm,
as it pertains to philosophy and these things are
yeah.
things which have been further explained when Islam came. Okay? As it pertains to the philosophy of Christianity, none of that was revealed by God. Okay?
Okay. No
All of
problem. No
hold
problem.
stop. I'm not done. When I'm done talking, I will let you know. Okay?
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. The philosophy of Christianity does not come from God. Nowhere does nowhere in the Bible does it say anything about three persons, the hypostatic properties, the
Why are we
hypostases,
talking about
because
hypostates, bro?
you brought up the philosophy of God, you absolute donut.
Okay, no problem.
Okay.
Carry on about.
No, get off my panel, bro. You're actually, I don't know what it is about your voice, but you're actually infuriating me. The way you're talking, you keep interrupting. I literally can't even focus. Bro's gotta have some gins or something up there, bro.
Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, I just want to know, why is Islam collapsing in Iran?
Because they're Shias, of course it's gonna collapse.
And do you believe in Sharia law?
Shias don't follow Sharia law.
So there's different types of Muslims?
Of course there's Muslims who are not Muslims, right? They only claim it by name, and then there are the true Muslims.
So you're saying that those Muslims are wrong, but you
Their
are
belief
right.
system, their belief is wrong, hence the reason why they don't have anything succeeding for them.
But don't you find it weird that most of these countries that have Islamic religion are not doing so well?
Really? So can you tell me why Dubai is doing great, Kuwait is doing
Okay,
great,
I promise you I will name you a
Saudi
lot
is
more
doing
countries.
great,
I will name you a lot more countries than I will
Indonesia, Maldives, what else? You have many countries that are doing fantastic.
compared to the countries that are not doing fantastic.
So which countries? Go ahead.
You got Iran, Afghanistan.
Iran is not a Muslim country. Afghanistan is also not run by, from my opinion, majority Muslims at least.
So that's your opinion?
Well, yeah, I don't believe that forcing people to do things is Islamic. Those are people who are being somewhat extreme in a sense. So you're not allowed to force people. So rulers of a country are not representative of the religion itself. You understand? Moreover, this proves absolutely nothing, right? Venezuela is Christian and they're getting bombed, right, by the US right now. Does that mean that, Christianity is false because Venezuela is being bombed? He left. He left. Wallah, he left. I didn't kick him out. Oh, man. It took like 2 seconds. Is Christianity false because Venezuela is being bombed? There's actually no way people make these low IQ arguments anymore, man. I don't even know what to say. I'm speechless. Okay. Philip with an F. Hello?
Hello?
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good.
I like your username, by the way.
Thank you.
So I guess my main point of contention would be, I should say that I'm an atheist. So does that qualify for something that you were open to having a conversation about?
I mean, I don't really care what your belief is. I more so just ask before the person starts talking. My main thing is that I want somebody to tell me why Islam is false. Or an argument, right?
Yeah, so I would say that Islam has a deity that created the universe, yes?
Yes.
So I would reject that.
Okay, based on?
So I think that one of the things that is a common theme for any description of some deity that can create the universe is that there are pieces to its existence that don't make sense to me.
What do you mean? Go give an example. Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So one of the arguments that I hear a lot is that anything that exists needs to have some explanation for it. And if you try to take that back infinitely, then you need some initial cause.
Okay.
And they say that God fits that description. I think that you can't say that God, I'm sorry, I should say that I was formerly Christian, so I use a lot of Christian terminology.
No problem.
So if that's fine, I'll continue doing that. So I would say that God needs an explanation in the same way that any physical existence needs an explanation.
Okay. So, as it pertains to that argument, you're a little bit off as to, the proper understanding of the argument. So, it would be more so, do you know what the term contingent is?
Vaguely, I remember learning it. It's been a while since my philosophy classes.
Okay, so contingent just simply means that there is something which exists which requires an external explanation to itself. Okay,
Mhm.
so for example, you and I are going to be contingent on our parents. We're also contingent on other factors such as drinking water in order to quench our thirst and so on, right? All of the things within the universe require some sort of external explanation in order to explain what they are. The universe, by definition, is that which makes up, the space and matter in terms of the cosmos, right? So, if the universe itself is something which is made up of contingent things, it itself is also going to be contingent. So far, so good?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so now we have two things, okay? We have the set of all contingent things, okay? And we agree that that which is contingent requires an external explanation outside of itself, correct?
Sure.
Okay, so if there's a set of all contingent things, then there must be something which is not contingent that explains the set of contingent things, okay? Because a contingent thing, by definition, requires an external explanation outside of itself. Okay, so there has to be something here that is not part of the sets, meaning it's not contingent, that explains why the set exists. Do you understand?
Okay. Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so that would be the proper way to word that argument, not just simply saying that everything that exists has a cause, therefore, God. That would be the more quote-unquote sophisticated way of saying it, the contingency argument at least.
Okay, so maybe like material things are contingent, but then God is not material and thus not contingent?
Right, okay. Well, I mean, if we want to go with that argument, so as it pertains to the Big Bang, they don't believe that there was material during the Big Bang. You know that, right?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I don't think that the Big Bang makes a whole lot of sense. I also don't think that God makes a lot of sense.
Okay, but something, okay, so when we talk about something preceding the other things, you still have to have a thing which is not contingent. It's not really about, whether or not I believe that these things could be the case. It's about whether or not the logic actually flows, right? So for the contingency argument, you agree with that step, right?
Sort of. I think that might be like where a disconnect is occurring.
Okay, what's the disconnect, sir?
So I think like one way of like figuring out the contingency issue is like saying something that is not contingent is like external to that contingent set, as you phrased it, is the thing that like initiated that.
And
But then I think that like it's a very similar problem to the mind-body problem, if you're familiar with that in dualism.
okay, what's the issue?
So like how could it be that something non-contingent could create something contingent on it? It
Because
seems like it
it's
doesn't make sense to me.
because it's something which is external to it. If it was intrinsic to it, meaning it created something in itself, that would render it as being contingent, or at least something which changes, right? If it changes essentially, then it is no longer something which is, necessary. It would be something which is, not necessary, because that which is necessary by definition does not change essentially. But in this case, the thing creating does not change essentially. It's something which is outside of it that's changing. So there's no issue still.
I guess like I would say the way that I'm thinking about it is like in God, what field of philosophy was it? I think like epistemology. There's this like either materialism or idealism or dualism, and then there's like an issue that arises with dualism where you have to say that if there are things that exist that are not material that can somehow interact with the material world, you have some like issue with describing how that happens that you need to like fill in.
What's the issue? You don't have to know the modality of something in order to affirm the fact that it exists. That's nonsensical. We know about things that exist that we don't necessarily know how they function or how they do the things that they do, yet we still affirm that they exist. For example, things such as dark matter or a black hole, right? These are things which exist, but we don't necessarily know how they operate or what occurs in terms of the system and all of these different things, yet we still affirm that they exist. So again, it's going to be more based off of the logic. The logic is going to lead you to this thing, but like saying that you necessarily have to understand the modality of something is just nonsensical. That's not true. No philosopher says you have to know the modality of every single thing in order to affirm its existence.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that. I think that one of the issues with that response is that like any analogy that you draw is gonna it seems necessarily be like within the contingent world, the material world. Does that make sense?
Not really, because I wouldn't be drawing analogies to begin with. All I've said was, in terms of the philosophical aspect, I've given you like a deductive argument as to why, naturally speaking, one would come to the conclusion of a non-contingent existence, right? Or a necessary existence that explains all other existent things. I haven't given an analogy in that so far. The only analogy I really gave was like, you and I, in order to be able to understand what a contingent thing is, but not what God or the necessary existent is.
The analogy that I was referring to is like we affirm that certain things exist even though we don't understand the modalities of them. Like, for example, black holes, and maybe we don't understand everything that we might want to about them, but they're still physical, and we can say, well, hey, there's like
Not
this
really.
physical world that interacts with itself, and a part of that makes it so that black holes arise. I don't think that you can account for something that is not part of the material world with an argument like that, or saying that we do affirm things to be true.
One second. Yeah, I don't agree that simply not, like, you would have to show me like some sort of philosopher that says that knowing the modality of things means that you would, or sorry, not knowing the modality means you could reject the existence of it. That just doesn't follow. Like, I don't think I've ever heard of anybody that says that, so
Yeah.
it's kind of just like arguing just to argue at this point.
Yeah, sure. I guess maybe like
Moreover,
I don't think that
actually,
the
let me
go
give you an
ahead.
example. We know what energy is, right?
Vaguely, sure.
Okay, but energy is not considered a physical thing, right?
I
'Cause it's not made
don't
of
know that I
matter.
would agree there. Maybe.
It's not made of matter, right? Matter is what tells
Sure,
us the
yeah, it's a
substances.
property of matter.
No,
Yeah,
it's
I
not a
guess.
property of matter.
Okay.
Matter is that which has, density to it. It has mass. It could be affected by gravity and all these things. Energy is not that.
Well, I mean, like, so I guess like maybe you would say that also like speed is not a physical thing.
Speed is going to be a measurement, and so is energy, but the whole point is that it's going to be more so of a thing that's used to measure between things, right? We don't necessarily know, or we can't observe energy in and of itself as a thing that exists, but we could use it in terms of a measurement to, understand other things which do exist, right?
All right, sure.
Right, so it's not a physical substance, right? But it's a measurable quantity. So we can know that it exists, but we don't actually see it as a thing, correct? We see effects of it after. So that's going to be the opposite in terms of the modality and seeing thing, correct?
I mean, I should probably I probably should have taken an earlier opportunity to mention that I'm not following the modality stuff.
Okay, modality just simply means like how a thing does something, right? Like, so for example, when I raise my hand, okay, how I do that is because I have certain neurons and, my automatic nervous system and my peripheral and all of these different things, right? They all operate in a specific way in order for me to be able to do this, right? That's how I do that, correct?
Okay.
Okay, so how something exists or how something does a particular thing, you don't actually have to know how my hand goes up in order to affirm the fact that my hand went up, right? Like
Sure.
you would know that based off of, you know, the before and after, correct?
Okay.
So it's the same thing here. I don't have to know how God creates in order to affirm, or sorry, let me put it a different way. I don't have to know that there is a necessary existence, okay, that is not contingent, and how it sustains the other contingent things in order to affirm that there is a thing that is not contingent, right? Like I don't need to know how it was able to do that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that's
Okay.
fine. Yeah.
Okay, so then.
So I guess then I would say that why would you ascribe like a lot of the other properties that you ascribe to quote unquote God
Okay.
to
Okay,
this
that's a good question.
thing?
So like for example, intellect, right? That would be like a property that you're like, oh, like why would you say it has intellect, right?
Sure.
Okay, so as it pertains to concepts, right? You believe that concepts exist, correct?
I'm not really sure that I want to make any claim about that.
What, so like 2 + 2 doesn't exist, the laws of logic don't exist?
I guess like there's oh man, it's again, it's been quite some time since any of my philosophy
I don't
classes,
mean
but like
I don't mean
if I were
exist.
to claim to be a materialist,
Then you'd
then
have a
you know
problem.
that right, as I would say that anybody who
Then
is
don't be a materialist then. Like it'd be pretty silly. It'd be pretty silly to say
yeah,
that everything that exists only exists, you know, as some sort of physical thing, because we observe and we know based off of like both we know that there are things that are both intramental and we know that there are things that are extramental, right? For example, concepts have an intramental existence. They rely on a mind, right? But extramental things, obviously, we can observe. So those are only going to be the material things. But concepts, we know they exist. We know the laws of logic exist. We know, for example, that the scientific method exists. But the way in which we're able to observe it, the way in which we're able to observe that it occurs is that, you know, we see the effects of it in other things, right? So like, for example, the laws of logic, we know that a contradiction, what a contradiction is, based on the fact that we're able to, you know, formulate sentences about it. For example, a squared circle, right? We know that that's not an actual thing and that refers back to a contradiction, but both of those statements are concepts, correct? And concepts, by definition, they're mind dependent. So they exist, but they exist in the mind.
so I guess that I would say if you want to say that concepts exist, then in the same way that a materialist has the problem of explaining like why concepts don't exist, I think that a person who believes that concepts do exist has the problem of explaining how and why that can affect the
Yeah, but again,
material
we
world.
already went into the how, right? Not having a modality for something, again, doesn't negate the fact that it exists. So not knowing, like, the thing will have a modality. Not knowing that modality doesn't negate its existence, though, right? But whereas in the case of the materialist, this person's negating both the existence and the modality of it. So this person would be negating that the fact that concepts exist. Like, that's just like, that's silly. Nobody should hold to something like that.
So I guess I'm like inclined to say that it's like equally silly under
How?
either assumption. Like, what is the difference
So
that you
then,
would
so then
draw?
with because then with the materialist, there's no way that we would actually be able to reason. If you don't hold to the idea that the laws of logic exist, then anything that I say could literally just be gibberish to that person. If logic does not exist, then there's no conversation to be had to begin with. And since we know logic is not a material thing, therefore they would have to concede to the argument if if a conversation was going to occur anyway.
Well, couldn't you like say that like the laws of logic they exist insofar as like certain patterns of neurons firing exist in the brain?
No, because they're not. They're mind dependent. It doesn't mean that, your brain has to be working in a specific way. And moreover, even if it was the case that we just relate it to neurons firing and stuff, the next question that would follow would be, okay, if you agree that they are mind dependent, right? And human brains are not eternal and these concepts are eternally true, then naturally there would have to be a mind in which these things eternally exist in, because they are mind dependent.
Well, I mean, if I were to reject the mind dependence thing, and I would say that it's like something more akin to a specific pattern of neurons firing dependent, then
Bro,
what issue would you have with that?
respectfully, I feel like conversation's not really going anywhere, and I think,
All right.
yeah, I think you're just
Fair
like
enough, eh?
you're talking kind of just to talk low key, bro.
All right.
I'm sorry.
Well, it is what it is. We tried.
Maybe just look into like the whole contingency thing first, and then look into the idea that concepts exist, but not extramentally. And then maybe you
Maybe
can come
look
back
back
and we
at
can
my
talk about that.
philosophy notes.
Maybe
too,
that too, yeah. All right.
All right. I appreciate you.
No problem, man. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
All right, there's only one more person left, and I think I'm gonna call it after that. Oh, never mind. Tumir, I think. I'm gonna call. Hello?
Hello.
You have an echo.
I have an echo.
A little bit, yeah.
You want me to? Do I still have an echo?
No, not really. I
Okay.
mean, it's here and there, but I don't know. It's okay. Just go ahead.
Alright. Okay. So I think Islam is false because as a Christian, unfortunately, I cannot trust Allah because the core theology of Christianity was the crucifixion and resurrection, and he kind of he said it was made to look that way.
Right.
So therefore, how can I trust any other revelation that comes afterwards from him?
Because he told you about it in the Old Testament and the New Testament.
He told me in the New Testament what?
He told you that he already knew that the Jews were going to unalive Jesus and not to believe that, according to the Old Testament and the Psalms. Moreover, you don't believe him because he deceived you?
Yeah, because how can I trust any other revelation that comes afterwards?
Right. So
And
if
therefore,
if God deceives, that's a bad thing, right?
no,
And
I'm
you
not
wouldn't
saying
believe
it's a
that
bad
God?
thing. I'm not saying
Okay,
it's.
no,
I'm not.
so wait. I'm
I'm
asking
sure
you a
there was a
question.
reason
So
for it.
hold on. If
Hold
he
on.
did that before, right? Let's say before Islam, before Christianity, why would you believe him after that? So
Yeah,
let's say
that's
during
not.
Judaism, okay, during Judaism, God did something like that as well. Would you believe that God?
What do you mean? If he did what?
If he deceived
If he
people,
said if he told, so if he revealed like centuries later that, hey, my revelation in the past wasn't really what it was meant
why
to
does
be.
the time period matter? If he did it in 1 minute or if he did it in 100 years, what difference does the 1 minute and 100 years make?
Because if the deception was done and the people and we are aware of this deception, there is a lesson.
In that
But
1 minute, somebody could die on that belief.
Sure, no, that's not the point.
And then God
The
is
point is that
responsible
if
for that, right?
6
According
centuries
to
later.
No, but hold on.
It's a big difference.
Pay attention. Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm not here to be mocked. Thank you.
Okay. Goodbye.
Yeah, bye.
Yo, I'm literally trying to get the sentence out, and this man is like laughing as if he smoked hashish for like 5 years. What the heck? Yo, that's crazy. He did do it first. That's the funny part. Is like, oh my god, bro. These people are so sensitive. It's not even funny. Like, you literally did it first, and I did it back at you, and you got mad. That's not my fault. Yeah, his voice changed. I think he used something. All right, let me see. Some old Newports.
Hello there.
Hello, sir.
May I ask why you're wearing a ski mask?
No, you may not. Do you have an argument?
Um, yes.
Okay, what's the argument, sir?
First off, I have a question.
Okay. What's the question? I'm pretty sure
Do you
you came
believe?
here before, didn't you?
Mm-mm. I've never came here.
I
On
remember
your
your
show.
profile picture and your name, but okay, go ahead. We'll see.
Do you believe the Torah or the Bible are holy revelations before the Quran?
Holy, like Holy?
Yes.
Yeah, at the time of the prophets, the respective prophets, they would have been holy revelations.
What has changed?
Oh, go look at the manuscripts and you could see for yourself.
Do you believe the Torah or the Bible are corrupted?
Doesn't matter what I believe. It's fact, right? There are
It's
things.
a so it's a fact that it's been corrupted according to you?
It is a fact. If you go and look at the manuscripts, they don't say the same things. Do you know what a corruption is?
Mm-hmm.
What is a corruption? Can you define it?
A corruption like of a text?
Mm-hmm.
So a corruption of a text, I believe it would be maybe switching words in from the original manuscript,
No.
switching what it originally said, maybe switching the core belief of it or something
Okay.
like that.
No, a corruption is what's that sound?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I heard myself. It sounds
Keep
like I
going.
was like underwater. Okay, that's good now. A corruption just simply means an addition or omission that is made to the text that is not made or not intended by the original author. Okay, so as it pertains to the Old Testament and the New Testament, we find that many times. Okay, in the case of the New Testament, for example, you have Mark chapter 16, verse 9 through 20, where in some manuscripts 9 through 20 is included, and in some manuscripts 9 through 20 is not included. In some of the earliest manuscripts, we don't have 9 through 20 being mentioned. Okay, so the question is it the case that somebody took this out of what Mark wrote and then later put it, or did somebody add this to what Mark wrote even though he never actually wrote it himself? That would be an example of a corruption. You also have John and the story of the adulterous woman, and a multitude of other ones, but those are two good examples right there that we could start with.
But doesn't the Quran affirm the
Brother,
previous
it doesn't matter what the
revelations?
Quran affirms or doesn't affirm. I told you
It's
based
it's
off
your
of,
text.
I
It's
told you, again, if it doesn't matter, even if I explained it to you, you're still going to, be boneheaded and try and say the Quran though, right? So
the
I'm giving you
Quran, your
based off of,
religious text.
so I'm going
It's your
based
holy
off of,
text.
okay.
It clearly affirms it.
Yeah, I definitely remember you, and I definitely remember why you got kicked, because you sound irritating as hell. Hello?
Hey, mic check. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, talk to me. So,
Do you have an argument, sir?
yeah, I do.
Okay.
I do.
Can you make
I'm
the argument?
piggybacking off of the previous guy.
Okay, make the argument.
You said that you don't believe that the previous scriptures confirm that the Quran confirms the previous scriptures.
Confirm in what sense?
Confirm in the sense that the Quran says it.
Yeah, so the Quran says a general confirmation, not absolute.
Can you show me in the Quran where it says a not absolute or
Yeah,
a general
so
confirmation?
for example, the Quran explicitly goes out of its way to contradict certain statements that are made in the Old Testament and the New Testament.
Well, in my opinion, that's a problem for the Quran, not for the Old Testament and New Testament. You just admitted that the Quran contradicts itself.
Okay, the Quran doesn't contradict itself, and I did not say that, so...
I mean, we could play it back and rewind it. You just literally
Okay,
said
so
it.
can you tell me the contradiction, sir?
Well, the contradiction is that it tells me in
Can you
verse
tell me the
5 in Surah
contradiction
5,
that I said? You said I contradicted myself. What was my contradiction?
you said that the Quran confirms the previous scriptures, but
I
it
said
says in other
it
places.
generally confirms, not absolute confirmation.
Right, but then you said it goes against the Old and New Testament in other
Right,
places.
so
That's
what does
literally
it
a
mean?
contradiction.
So, sir, let's go nice and slow. What does a general confirmation mean, and what does an absolute confirmation mean?
You have to give that definition because the Quran doesn't say
Right.
that.
So there is a
That's
difference,
your
sir. So
definition.
there is a difference between the two words, hence the reason why I use two different words, correct?
Hence the reason you use, not the Quran. The Quran didn't use
Okay,
those
yes,
words.
I use
You're
two
adding to the
specific, sir.
Quran.
Yeah, so the same way that the Trinity doesn't, appear in the Bible is the same way that you still believe in the Trinity, even though the word is not in the Bible. It's called context clues, according to you at
Correct.
least, right?
And the
Okay,
word, okay,
beautiful. So what was my
correct. The
explanation?
word
Sir,
Tawheed
stop
doesn't
stop
appear in the
interrupting me.
Quran.
Stop interrupting me. Okay.
Simple
The
question.
okay.
Does Tawheed
Oh
appear in the
my,
Quran?
so you want to change the topic now? If
You
you want to
just
debate
changed it.
No, I didn't. I just
You
gave you
just
an
said Trinity
example.
is not in the Bible, and
Holy
we
fucking
believe it. And I
shit. You freaking donut. I gave you an example, okay? I gave you an example of how the word does not have to be there in order for you to affirm something based off of context clues, okay? Clearly, you skipped that lesson in the 3rd grade. Do you understand now? Do you understand? Yes or no? Or do you
do
need me to
you
break it down even
understand
more? Maybe
that
you did
Tawheed is
actually
not in the
skip. Okay.
Quran?
So
Tawheed
clearly
is not in
clearly he did skip that lesson in the 3rd grade, and clearly he did not want to actually learn the lesson today. It's okay. What's he on? Allahu Alam, man. There's actually no way these Christians are this slow. Some of these people are actually the dumbest of the dumb. I've actually never met people who are this stupid. Like, these people really have so much time on their hands, and then they come on TikTok and think, let me go show everybody how stupid I am. It's actually ridiculous. Like, go open up a book. I know you haven't done that since the 3rd grade. That's not my fault, though. Alright, let's see. Hello?
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. Are you Muslim?
Yeah, I'm Muslim.
Okay, how can I help you, sis?
Wait, were you supposed to be inviting people that weren't Muslim on?
Yeah.
Oh,
Unless...
then sorry.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Alright, guys. Nobody's requesting right now. I'm confused. Okay. Anyway, did the sister not read the prompts? It's okay, no worries. We've been live for quite some time though. Bring me up, please. You're not requesting. Hold on. I'll send you a request, I guess. I sent you a request. And you rejected the request. Okay. I didn't get it. I sent it to you. Just click the button at the bottom. It has a blue and pink person at the bottom. Just click that and you can request. Why do you not debate Einstein? Because he's dead. I did. Okay, I can't resend you the request, bro. Like, you rejected it the first time. I can't resend it to you. Resume live. What the heck? What does that mean? Oh, there we go. Hello?
Hello?
How are you, sir?
I'm good.
All right.
I have a question about like an Islamic ruling.
Okay.
So if you perform wudu and you fart unknowingly, and then pray after, is your prayer invalid?
Are you Muslim?
No, I'm not Muslim.
So why do you care?
I just want to know.
Okay, I mean, if the person didn't know and they didn't make wudu, then I don't really think that that could be held against them, but that's why
No, if they made wudu.
they did make wudu after.
No, if they made wudu, like farted unknowingly and then prayed.
Yeah, if they feel like they think that they did fart, then they're supposed to make wudu again. If they don't think that they did, then I guess it's based off their intention on that, but I don't know what to tell you. If they think that they farted, they go and make wudu. I don't know how you think you farted or you didn't fart, sir, but have a good day. Yeah, for real, who farts and then doesn't know that they what the hell? What the heck? Yo, what's wrong with these people, man? Ask him if it's God. No, I'm not asking him that. Thank you, Ben. Okay, you see, YouTube, I interacted with you guys a lot more today. I hope you guys are happy. I sent 2 messages in the chat today, which was 2 more than I've ever sent in any of the other chats. I hope you like the improvement today. Why is he asking you? He's not a Muslim. I guess he doesn't really actually care. He's probably just trolling. Probably someone loose. Best Christian argument. Alatachi. Thank you. I appreciate that. If I got no haters, then I'm not doing something right. Hello?
Yo, have you seen the debate between Jake and Daniel Hakikachu?
No.
Wait, get on live right now.
Okay.
Wait, are you Shia?
No. Alright, guys. I'm gonna end the live, inshallah. I think that's enough for tonight. It's been about 3 hours. Sister Tachi, please read my message I sent you after you finish. Okay, inshallah. I will do my best. Sometimes I read the messages and I just don't respond until tomorrow. So, or the next day, I'm sorry. Alright, guys. Enough for today, I think. Nobody's requesting anyway. Inshallah, we come back tomorrow, same time, if Allah wills. And we resume the dawah. Alright, guys. Let me end this. Assalamu alaikum to YouTube. By the way, somebody asked why I end the YouTube stream first. It's because I stream the TikTok stream onto YouTube. So if I end TikTok first, it's going to show like a weird blank screen at the end. But if I end YouTube first, and I promise you guys don't miss anything. I don't mention anything after I end. But if I end YouTube first, it's not going to obviously show a black screen at the end of the live. So that's the reason why. Alright, guys. Assalamu alaikum, guys. Appreciate you for coming, YouTube. Okay.